out there. Sam Dennehy, Halfass Presents podcast. I just want to thank and give a big shout out to Mike Pringle for being a Patreon supporter of this podcast. He's going to help this podcast get more and better and bigger equipment so we can have better videos and better sound and better editing. So once again, thanks Mike Pringle for being a Patreon supporter of this podcast. See ya. Hey YouTube, Sam Dennehy. This is Halfass Presents the podcast. Today's special guest is Steven Anderson. You guys probably seen his posts on the groups, and he's also a model railroader. So he's a model railroader and a 187 scale custom car builder. Not custom, but I mean every car's a custom if you have to build it. But so he's a 187 scale vehicle builder and a model railroader. And he's got some pretty cool from his Facebook page, he's got some pretty cool pictures of his layout and his vehicles that he's built. It's pretty good, in my opinion. And that's who we're having, Steven Anderson. So I hope you like it, and he'll be right in a second. All right, looks like we're recording. Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, this is Sam Dennehy, aka Halfass Customs, and this is Halfass Presents the podcast. Today's special guest, Steve Anderson. Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in this hobby?
Sure. Hi, Sam. It's good to be on. So, boy, my journey into this hobby took a long time to get here. I started off like most of us with Tonka trucks in the backyard. And so I'll kind of get to where I'm going to. So I started with Tonka trucks and then moved to matchboxes. And I preferred the matchboxes over Hot Wheels because the matchboxes at that time were realistic cars. Mm-hmm. Right? They weren't the fantasy, whatever the Hot Wheels were and stuff like that. And then so I started kind of liking that type of thing. With the cars. But then I took a little bit of a side detour and started modeling 1/72nd scale military stuff. So that was kind of when I started into the hobby, because I made up an entire, I was using Airfix mostly, model kits, because they were cheap enough and we could go to the hobby shop and get a hobby kit every week or something like that. And I wound up building like an entire German battalion and an entire American battalion. But wow. When I got up there, I went, well, wait, there's nothing to recover my tanks. Wait, there's nothing to do this. Wait, there's not. So I had to start building things that the Germans and the American armies would have just to function, So that was kind of my start into the hobby. And then fast forward a little bit was when I started coming up and going, I know matchboxes aren't to scale. 1/64th just seemed too big. And at that point in time, I was kind of coming up and I started seeing trains, and I said, that whole HO scale thing, which is about 1/87, fits about the right scale. It's enough detail, and they were cheap enough at the time and all that kind of stuff. And then, so that's how I got into that. I started just kind of collecting cars. I wasn't into the trains. I started really collecting the vehicles, and then said, I like this. I like being able to build things or see things that I see every day outside. Was kind of how I started it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been, I've said it on almost every other episode, but I've been a car guy my whole life. And most car guys either collect Hot Wheels because they're never going to have that many cars in their life to begin with. So a $1, $2 car isn't going to be, breaking the bank. And then I got into model cars, 1/25th scale model cars, and then I just kept going smaller and smaller. So I was a collector of 1/64 scale, and then I started customizing them years later. And now, 187 scale, and I'm not a train guy. I do appreciate trains. I would love to maybe have a train set, but I don't want to build it. Let somebody else build it and just give it to me. And but yeah, I'm a car guy by heart, and I mean, the next step for our scale cars is buildings and scenery and background.
You
Not
gotta have
necessarily a
something.
train, but like buildings and streets and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where I am with this hobby. I don't care to build a train set, but I mean, it's not out of the question. It's just not
Yeah.
in the immediate future either.
Yeah, and then it always kind of made me mad when I'd go, and I'm sure you're the same way, because I did watch some of your other podcasts and all that. You were kind of the same. You go to a train show, you go to the layout, and this guy's like, yeah, this train, only existed between these 17 hours of the day, and these wheels do this and all that kind of stuff and all. And you go, and you have a Hot Wheel Corvette.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's just a car. Who cares? But this train, it's like, dude, the car is as big as one of your cars.
It's a semi truck.
Yeah,
and it's a 2-door coupe.
It's like, come on, man. You're so I just felt that I thought that I could do things that would enhance if I finally got around to getting a train layout or something like that would enhance it. And another one that I heard you say was, and I totally agree with this. How many BMWs can you have in one setting? How many Chevelles are there in one setting and all that? It's like, no, that's not what it is.
Right.
And how many cities that have skyscrapers in them have no cars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's definitely, there's two sides of our scale hobby. There's the model railroader, and then basically the accessory side. So there's only two. There's model railroaders that will focus on the train, the track, and have everything else as a scenery part with not much detail, but you can, for the most part, get what it is. And then the scenery or the aftermarket part where it's all the vehicles and the scenery, and then the train may be an afterthought, the background shot.
Yep.
And yeah, it's tough when this hobby seems to be largely influenced and modeled for railroading and not the other side. But I mean, at least there is another side. At least there is our side where we focus on the detailed parts of the accessories and not necessarily the trains. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Just our side is much smaller. Yeah, that's cool. And I noticed too that looking at your Facebook page and your photos that you got a good little selection of vehicles that you've built, and they look pretty good. I mean, I saw this one photo. You probably got 10 or 7, 10, 15 post office trucks all lined up.
Yep. Actually, I have them sitting right over here. So it kind of made me mad for the longest time, and I'm so happy about 3D printing because
yes, we all are.
I mean, this basically was the mail truck for until about 2 years ago, right?
This is truck for Mayberry.
Yeah, and I was so happy with 3D printing that this truck has been. Oh, sorry, let me get it. This truck has been around for
ever
40 or 50 years. You know, nobody ever made it. It's like, how can you have a train set that's been built from at least the 70s on,
right,
without the most popular car in the world?
Yeah,
right?
it's either that or the Jeep.
Yeah, and I got one of those too.
Yeah,
which was great. They 3D printed one of these, and so now I've got the little Jeep just to because I like it. I've always liked the little Jeep. I thought it was really, really neat. And when I first got the Jeep, I was like, do I want to make it a mail truck or do I want to make it an ice cream car? Right? Because they all turned into ice cream cars when they got rid of the Jeeps in the mail. Right?
Did
That's
they?
where a lot of them did.
Know.
That's what came around the neighborhoods with your ice cream Do little ice cream balls.
Mine, okay, well, I've never
Yeah.
seen that. So that's interesting. In fact, I never even heard of that, but I've never looked into it either. So,
Yeah.
mine were always those ones you can stand up in that
Oh,
have the
right. The big
tall,
vans.
like,
Yeah.
like a shorty van, like a
Yeah.
short bus van kind of version. But yeah, that's the only kind I've ever seen. So that's interesting because I
Yeah.
never knew if it wasn't a mail truck or after it became a mail truck, then it could turn into a ice cream car. Or
Yeah. There was a lot of
that's
them
neat.
did that in where I was growing up at and all that. So it's like I was torn. It's like, oh, but it could be an ice cream van.
Well, you can still make one,
Oh yeah,
and
I
then
can always
just
get
go
another
buy
one.
another print. Yeah, I mean, heck, John Tyson makes that for probably cheaper than you can
Yeah.
buy the 3D print now, unless you 3D print your own stuff.
No, not yet. I'm
Me
trying to.
neither.
I'm,
Me
I'm,
neither.
I, I work with computers all day long, and we have one home computer, and my wife is normally on the home computer, so I
Makes
don't
sense.
normally get
Yeah.
around to doing the design.
Right.
So that's why I don't do the 3D printing. I buy 3D prints. I bought quite a few things off of Shapeways.
Yeah, me
I've
too.
I've been really impressed. I wish and I know that you've had a lot of different interviews and all that kind of stuff about the people with 3D printing. And the only thing I don't like is that some of the stuff doesn't come out good enough. It doesn't come out
Right.
without the striations on it and all that kind of stuff. And it's really hard to polish up.
Well, from what I noticed, and I only buy from two different people, Mad About Cars and another guy that has built some it's not really aftermarket, but it's an accessory pack for a 3D printed DeLorean,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
is the Back to the Future junk
Yeah.
that you can get everything for just as the accessories, and you don't have to buy the car.
Right.
And they fit the MPE,
Hmm.
MPE DeLorean too. So as long as you take that off, all those little things can just fit right on the
Yeah.
car perfectly. So I buy from that guy, and I can't remember what his name is. But yeah, I found out by talking to Matt About Cars is it's up to the designer to then go onto his page on Shapeway and
Mhm.
upscale the resolution or the fine detail print, because
Okay.
it looks like a quarter or half of his cars, the old versions that he
Yeah.
did, are still set in like the lowest variation of the print.
Mhm.
So it's going to
Okay.
come out horrible, and it's up to them to set it to be higher
Yeah.
and then make you pay
More for it.
way
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
But you have to pay that in order to get the finest print.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I found out by talking to him. That's one of the issues a lot of people have is they don't set it to the finest print because then it's going to
Mhm.
cost too much and they probably won't sell any.
Right.
But at the same time, the few that do sell, those are the people that are going to get the greatest version of that print.
Yep. Yeah. And if you get a crappy one, you're going to come up and go, "Oh, I don't want this again." I mean,
Yeah,
you
right.
know, I'm gonna spend this much money, and then I'm gonna spend hours polishing the model so that I can
Yeah,
actually paint it, and it doesn't look like it's gone through, a
yeah. No
hailstorm or
kidding. I just bought another Ecto from the Mad About Cars guy. Jens Jan is his name. Um, and he designed a version that's hollow and has an interior kit, which is going to be the first one of those versions of that car that I'm building. Because of the shipping and because of that highest fine print, that thing cost me $67 for one car. And I
wow.
think it's mostly because, well, it's not mostly. I think this year Shapeway is up to their shipping again, so I think it's close to like
Uh,
$15 now, just
wow.
for one piece. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I didn't have anything to order at that moment, so I literally just ordered that one car, and it was like $67 for just one car.
Yeah.
It's just unreal, but I need that car, so I gotta get it. I don't have a printer, and I don't have a file to even
Yeah.
print it, even if I did have a printer that could print
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. Yep. Yeah,
good.
that would be the nice thing is if and I know that I'd heard somebody talking about this, that it would be nice if there was some way to start getting a hold of those print files.
Yeah. Oh
Someone
yeah. Me
that,
and Joseph Bolivin's been talking about it a lot.
yeah,
Like, I want Yen Jian to sell us those files. Well, even if we have to pay, say, $50 for a file,
right,
I'll pay $50 as long as I can print the limited amount that I
yeah,
need. It would be
yep,
worth it. I mean, his designs are just awesome.
yeah. He has
So
got some incredible stuff on his site.
I think he's got to be the leader of all manufacturing, toy companies, train companies, any manufacturer. He's got to be the leader of American vehicles
Yeah,
for
yep,
HO 187 scale.
yeah. Well, I
Because
mean,
even at the oldest, company that exists, that's been still in existence building HO cars,
mhm.
none of them come close to the amount of catalog he has.
Yeah, yep. Well, it's like, and the thing that I like is he builds cars.
Right.
He builds what's on the road. He
Yeah.
doesn't just make the Camaro. He makes the Vega. He
Yeah.
makes
Right.
he
Exactly.
makes all of those cars because, that's what you're going to see in a town. You're not going to
Mhm.
see a whole bunch of hot rods. You're not going to see, a whole bunch. You need to have that little variety. And that's why I was so happy when the mail trucks came out, because it's like, oh my God, I can put a mail truck in, because other than that, what were you going to use? The only other
Right.
thing that you could do is go modify a Jeep
Yeah.
from Roco,
Which
hook
is
it up.
what probably some people did. And
Mhm.
they probably turned out decent. But at the same time, if you don't live in a city or a town, probably
Yep.
just a town that still is running those Jeeps, yeah, then you're just modeling something that's not realistic to
Yeah.
probably what you're modeling.
Yep. Yeah. So that was that's kind of one of the biggest finds that I've had this year. I think what that really made me happy. It's just like, yeah, I can do this. And then, of course, there's quite a few decal places out there now, which is really
Yeah,
nice. That's another
that
thing.
is
And
nice.
so, um, I don't, again, I could probably do the decals, but I don't want to learn Photoshop and learn how to do all of that
Me
stuff.
neither.
It's just
Me
like,
neither.
hey, here's the pictures I want. Can you make decals out of these?
Yes.
It's
I
great. I'll pay
I
you for it.
I hooked up with a guy named Dave's Decals. He's in Missouri or
Hmm.
Kentucky. And I met him at the RPM meet in St. Louis when I first went there in 2018. And he's a pretty cool guy, and he had all these decals, and he does decals for train, like apartment buildings or just buildings in general, just
Oh,
the old like 1940s and 30s big
yeah.
wall
Yep.
pictures and stuff. He has all these decals of all this stuff for train cars, for almost anything and everything uh, train set related. He makes
Yep.
decals for. So I gave him some ideas, and I was like, "Hey, can you do this?" And he did it, and I was like, "Oh, awesome!" And so I'll send him a car. I'll send him what I need, and then I say, do what you got to do and take your time, because it's not like I need it right back in a week or something. Just do what you can, make it look as good as you possibly can, and just tell me how much you want, and I'll pay it.
Yeah.
And so he did the Ghostbusters decals. He's done a lot of decals for me, and
Wow. Okay.
yeah, and so he was my main guy, because he
Yeah.
was at the time the only one I knew
Yep.
met
Yeah.
that know how to do that.
Yeah. It's
But
like
yeah, there's a lot now.
I've asked Circus to kind of do some stuff. There's another place, Switchline, is
Mm,
another place that I've been dealing with. Switchline actually did my trains. So here's the interesting story about the trains. Okay. So there's the prototypers, and then there's the fantasy guys. And so I'm doing that prototype fantasy thing. Um,
nice.
and
I
so
like that
what
idea.
happened? Yeah, what happened was so I don't want to have to again, I'm kind of a little bit lazy. I don't want to have to plan my train set.
I'm lazy
So
too, man.
yeah,
Hey, I'm in the same boat. You and me speak the same language. I
so
don't want to plan it either.
I found a railroad that does everything that I want it to do. It's really cool. It's here in Washington. It's called Puget Sound and Pacific. Okay, so the first thing it's a small railroad, but it has a port. It actually has two ports. It goes through logging country. It has some oil refinery stuff. It does some military stuff. And then it has just some regular freight traffic back and forth. But it parallels US Highway 12. So, which at some points it's a 2-lane road and at some points it's a 4-lane road. And it's railroad track road the entire way down. So it's like,
nice.
look, I can get my cars and trucks on the layout without coming up and saying, well, yeah, it wouldn't be realistic because it's right there. The train tracks go right next to the road and all that kind of stuff. And it took actually a while to find something that was kind of like that, where it, where I could come up and say, I can mix the two because now I can display my cars, I can display my trucks and stuff like that, and still have the trains in the background that will, just go be there for the trains in the background.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That's really cool. Yeah, there's another guy I want to get on this podcast, but he's older and he doesn't really want to do it. I think the technology thing scares him, or just maybe the podcast idea scares him. I don't know. But he's taking the sci-fi fantasy, and building it into his layout. So he's taking 1/72nd or 1/87 or 1/64th like scale planes and spaceships and stuff, and he's morphing them into 1/87 scale vehicles. So he's making hover vehicles. He's making spaceships that would be like in a sci-fi present day type scene. He's making robots like Transformers that aren't Transformers, or just his version of some kind of Transformer thing. And it's, I put it on my hot rod, rat rod group that I started a while ago, and he just makes some really out of the box, crazy neat stuff that you don't see in this hobby. Nobody in the train world is morphing sci-fi robots and like Pacific Rim movie type stuff in HO world. Nobody's doing it. So he's done it, and he's doing really good, and I really like his stuff. I just wish I could talk to him and let everybody else see his stuff that isn't part of the group I made or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, and like, really, if you get back into some of the older ones, the name of the show escapes me, but it was the one where the moon broke away from the earth, and they actually had a moon base, and they had these really cool, and you could get them because they're like 1/72nd scale little transporters, and it was kind of like I know Space, was it Space 1999? Yeah, Space 1999.
Yeah,
and they had the cool thing about the model was the compartment in the center of this lift vehicle dropped out, so you could switch out the different things, so you could have the science pod or the whatever. And I always thought that would be like a neat thing to intermix vehicles and things like that, because you could get a spaceport and things. And
well, the closest thing to doing crazy stuff like that is what I'm going to try to do at some point, is the Back to the Future scenes where you got all three futures. I want to make Hill Valley in all three movies. So a Western one, a 50s one, and the 2015 version still hasn't hit us.
It's like, God, why wasn't it like that? Gee.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? Here's what's crazy. As big as a fan as I am of that trilogy, when that date hit, it didn't even dawn on me until I hit Facebook, and then Facebook blew up with "We're in the future now."
We're in the future,
and I was like, "Holy crap! I can't imagine how many like get-togethers and movie theaters are probably playing part 2 specifically for today." And all the it didn't dawn on me. And I was already at work, and I'm already doing my work, and I took a break, and I'm just scrolling like, holy crap, that's right now. That's today. I would have took the day off and went to a movie theater or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
it is kind of fun when things like that catch up. It's like, but it didn't work.
Exactly. But like that, like what you're saying, it's neat to be able to, if you have the imagination, the know-how to do something like that. Even if you had a small train layout, or even if you have a big layout, like dedicate certain areas to like certain things. That's why in the background I built that backlot movie studio, and I put 4 buildings on it that were all from movies and TV, because I don't have a layout, but a module is perfect because it incorporates so much and so small, and it's iconic, and everybody knows what it is except for little kids.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's like, I mean, and I've seen some different, there's some guys that have done some different things, and it's kind of cool when you see the modular layouts, in some cases, and that the group of people that the modular layouts are working with are like, you know, you can bring anything you want. I mean, I actually saw there was Godzilla with a Volkswagen in its mouth
Yeah, I've
on
seen
one
that
of the
too.
sets that I've
Yeah,
seen. It's just like, that is so cool, you know, and Mothra was over on the other side flying or something
right.
like that. And it's like awesome, you know, and they had the 187th scale Godzilla, you know,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, that's cool. It's fun. It
It's
gives you
definitely
something
neat when you
to do.
see that because it's not, it's so far and few between that when you do, you're like, finally, somebody that
Yeah.
thinks like me. I'm not the
There's
only one.
it's kind of funny. There's a train show that goes on out here every year, and it's done by the 4-H. Um, so it's the farmers and stuff like that. But they actually have a train group, for the kids, and it's an N scale train group. And every year, they're the ones who hold it, and they get out there, and the kids are allowed to do anything that they want to.
Oh, wow.
So it's really kind of cool. One had a Marsscape. Train tracks went through the Marsscape.
That's
Another
neat.
one had CP30 and R2D2 going
Oh,
up to
that's
the
cool.
Millennial Falcon as the train's going past and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of neat to come up and go, you know, what's great is they didn't say you have to build the train and this is the way a train looks like. It's got to go through this type of thing. It's like you just build what you want.
I wonder if that group has expanded over the country because me and my daughter went to a train show the end of last year. Yeah, at the end of last year. And we went to a modular club's layout, which was N scale, and it was the same thing. And it was all done by kids. All
Yep.
the kids built like a maybe foot by foot
Yeah.
modular,
Yep.
2 tracks going in front, and they were allowed to do whatever they wanted. So it didn't line up at all, but the tracks all lined up, and you
Yeah.
knew it was built by kids, and it was one of the neatest things because some of these kids just had the greatest imaginations.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. You need imagination. It's
Yeah.
great to see prototype modelers, but they're more them than there is anything else in this hobby. And it kind of, and not trying to put anybody down,
Yeah.
kind of gets old because it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
You're building anything from 1800s to 1970s or 1960s. It's all the same thing. There's nothing
Yep.
different.
Yeah. And that's why
So
it's kind of cool to see the Lego layouts.
yeah,
The Lego
yes,
layouts those are
they're
different.
wild.
They're really, really wild. Some of the
Yeah,
things
I
that they
mean,
do and
there's
stuff.
so many different sets of Legos. They put it all on the train
Yeah.
layout.
Yep.
Everything, a mixed mash of sci-fi to real to cartoon to any and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. To English to, you know,
Yeah,
look, Big
right.
Ben's here. Well,
Yeah,
okay.
right next to the Empire State Building.
Yeah. Okay. Right next to it. Yeah, that's kind of weird. All right.
Yeah. So it's amazing how small this world is.
Yeah.
That's why I did American Graffiti's Mel's Diner
Yeah.
sitting right next to the firehouse for Ghostbusters, like literally butt to butt next to each other because you got New York and California
Yeah.
just that close. That's how small this country is. That
Well,
close.
and then the funny thing is it's because it's Hollywood.
Right.
That could be the way the
Yeah.
lot is, you know.
Well, it's so funny for anybody that cares, which I don't know that most people do, but if you were a Ghostbusters fan, it would be interesting to know that 3/4 of Ghostbusters was filmed in California.
Yeah.
And most of the outside shots with the car going through New York was what they filmed for New York,
Yeah.
along with the firehouse. But the interior, some of the interior shots of the firehouse was in California. And then when they go see Slimer for the first time and they're in that big, huge ballroom, that was in California. Yet they only use the outside of the building
Yeah.
shot for the New York scene. But yeah, it's interesting. Like Hollywood can just manipulate stuff, and it's
Yeah.
neat that they can do that.
Yeah.
That's what we need on our layouts and modules is
Yeah.
manipulation of
Yeah.
scenes.
It's kind of funny. It's like where I live right now, because I live in Seattle. just north of us is Vancouver.
Right.
And most people
Where they
don't
film a lot of
understand
stuff.
that almost everything where you come up and you go, God, that city looks familiar, but I don't know what it is. That's because
Right.
it's Vancouver, Canada.
Yeah. Ghostbusters, the new Ghostbusters Afterlife movie, I think, is filmed in Vancouver,
Yeah,
possibly, or parts of it.
probably.
I
Probably a lot
know
of art was.
they did in the trailer for that new movie, they had numerous people break down the Easter eggs and
Yeah.
this is filmed where and here and there, and I watched every one of them, and they broke down. There's like three different cities right outside or right on the
Yeah.
outline of Vancouver, and they showed that scene in this part of the trailer was filmed in this little city. This part of the trailer was filmed in this city, and this part of the trailer was filmed in this city. And they're not even cities; they're towns.
Yeah.
Tiny
Yeah.
little towns that they filmed in.
And
And then,
we
go
were
ahead.
up there not too long ago when we were driving around. I forget exactly where it was in the Vancouver area. And we look over and it's like, why is there this big hill and what looks like this huge construction site, but nothing's going on? And it was like, it was an oversized city block, was kind of what it was. And then we looked and we drove a little bit farther and we went, oh, that's their Hollywood lot.
Oh
That's
wow!
where they, right
Yeah,
in the middle of the city, they made this, and you
yeah.
could see that they had, because then you looked a little bit sooner and then it's like, that's only the fronts of buildings because all you could see was the
Right,
back
right.
part
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
building.
yeah.
Like, and so they just would move it
That's
around
funny.
even within there. It's just like,
I
okay.
know that it's not new, but the newest version of the Bates Motel TV show was filmed out that way too.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then I found out that somewhere on Facebook they were saying they're going to tear down, because the show's not going no more. They're going to tear down the house and the hotel. And I'm in my head thinking, no, don't do that. Just leave it there.
Just leave it up there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no reason to tear that down. That could be filmed in for so many different things,
Yeah.
separate, not in one scene with the house and the hotel, that it could work. Just leave it.
Or you could leave it up there and make an escape room thing out of it.
That would be awesome. Or Halloween. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
It's so many ideas that make sense don't make sense to Hollywood or something. I don't know.
I can't have that. Then we'd have to actually staff people and stuff.
Right. Yeah, whatever. It would be fun. It would be great. But yeah, so I guess you said it pretty much already, but you like to model present time period, or say 80s and up.
Probably 80s and 90s. So more of the last 15
That's
or 20
pretty
years.
present. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all those vehicles are still on the road. All those buildings and houses still exist.
But the cool thing about that is because again it's West Coast, so I can put a 63 Impala.
You definitely could. Yeah, and it wouldn't look out of place.
And it's fine.
Yeah.
I can put, and with farm country and the backwoodsy kind of area and stuff like that, there's still Dodge Power Wagons, 1956 Dodge Power Wagons and stuff like that. They don't look nice. They're not pristine.
No, they're not made to. They're a farm vehicle. That's the epitome of a workhorse. That's what they built them for, and that's what they still use them for up that way.
And I mean, even out here, you look and not everybody is driving a brand new Kenworth logging truck. There are some, it's a reliable truck. It keeps working, know.
I mean, if it's a work truck, they were meant to be worked, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah. So it kind of gives me the variety. It allows me to do pretty much anything that I want to. And then with the limitations that we've had in the past of what's available out there, like the Trident only had a number of vehicles, and for the longest time until River Point came up, those were all your utility trucks. That's all you were going to get. So it's like, well, I've got a lot of those. Well, I'm not going to just dump them all because, I can't replace them one for one with all the River Point station ones.
Right.
I haven't won the lottery yet. That's not.
Well, I think too, in this hobby, where it's just become recent, there's a company that does it, and Joseph Bilibens is doing it, and probably maybe just a handful of other people in the country or around the world, making modern day fast food restaurants compared to the
Yeah.
maybe 100 that
Yeah.
50, maybe 50 that we had for since 1940 to present.
Yeah.
You know, the same building that's on everybody's layout that
Yep.
doesn't fit any, you know, present time period. So
Yeah.
it's neat because you could have a downtown street that was made in the 40s, 50s, all the original buildings still there, refurbished and whatnot. And on each corner of that, you could have modern day, because it would be
Yeah.
modern
Yeah.
day fast food restaurant here and a modern day here, or a Rite Aid across the street next to the rest of the 1950s, because that's what they would do.
Yeah, or kind of like what I see here, I could have the modern day, say, McDonald's building, and then the old Kentucky Fried Chicken building, right, with the little square Kentucky Fried.
Yeah.
That is a teriyaki place because
Right. They
they're
refurbished.
still
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
There's somebody
I
else is
have,
using them.
I got literally a mile down from my road. I've got a lunch and dinner. I think they do breakfast, just a restaurant that took over a vintage, like 50s, 60s style Pizza Hut. So
Yeah,
the Pizza
yeah,
Hut that we
yeah. Look
have
there.
in
Yeah,
the kit for HO is that same building.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
knew that's what it was, knowing that that's what, you know, I have for a model. I have that Pizza Hut building. And I looked at it and I was like, holy crap. It doesn't even look like that no more, but that's the same building.
yeah. It's the same. Yeah, they painted it and they took the Pizza Hut
Yeah.
sign off of it. It's the same
Right,
building.
right, right. Yeah.
So it is kind of nice sometimes doing the modern stuff. And then, like I said, it gets a little bit harder, but to find some of the modern cars because,
Right.
um, you know, it seems like the manufacturers really only focus on what's the cool, neat car. I mean, it was great when Bush came out with the police car series
Hmm.
um, because then they made Crown Vics
Right.
and they made the Chevy Caprices, and it's like, ooh, they made them not police cars too. So now
Right,
you've
right.
got
Yeah.
a normal car that you can now put out there on your system, and you don't have to have, it's like I said, it's really funny how many BMWs, how many Corvettes, how many Porsches can you have in
Yeah.
one town where a train
Right.
goes through it?
Yeah. And then if you're a modular layout club, all the vehicles are the same on every layout or
Yeah.
every modular. It's
Yep.
like, come on, really? No.
Yeah. That was like I guess I forget how it was that I found him, but when I found the Keebri models, I was just like, wow. Now, why don't we have somebody like this in the United States? You
Right.
know, they
That's the
make
big problem.
they make such nice models and they're modern. Unfortunately, they're all European.
Right. They still look cool though, but yeah,
Oh
there's
yeah, yeah.
that's for
And
that side of the world, not for really ours.
yeah, and I buy some of those so that I can put American trucks on the front of them. You know,
Good.
there's like sweepers and things like that are out there. I just bought, and like I said, so my focus. This is what's weird. My focus in modeling is what you see in town. So I don't have
Mine too.
I don't have a whole bunch of trucks. I don't have I actually have a little program that I keep everything in, and it's like I've got like 1,000 vehicles total, and of those I only have like 146 heavy trucks, but I got like 120 cars, and then about 150 or so light trucks, and then medium trucks. Because
Yeah.
that's what you see. You see
Right. That is
the
exactly what you see.
Yeah, you see the Boley box truck driving around. You see the pickup trucks. You see,
Yeah.
you know, that's what you actually see on the roads, and that's kind of what I like to have. And then the Keebre's got so many different things that you can use. So the model that I just bought, which was a little expensive, is the articulated grass mower. So it's a Unimog truck body, but it's and you see them, all the counties and stuff like that have them, where they're when they're mowing the grass along the side of the road. It's on an articulated arm and it goes up and it can take
Oh,
out
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
bushes
yeah,
and all
yeah.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, I
Yeah.
bought the truck for that so I could put it on a tractor so that I could have the tractor go mow the lawn along the side of the road. Because well, they've
Makes
got the
sense. That's what you
attachment. We
see.
don't have anything
Yeah.
like that. It's
Right, right. Not yet. I'm sure
no.
it's on its way.
Yeah, yeah, but it's kind of fun. I mean, and that's kind of what I do. It's kind of like, I kind of kit bash a lot of my cars. You know, I did the, Keebri puts out a concrete pump truck, and I made their concrete pump truck and switched out the actual truck front for, I think, a Kenworth. So now it's got a Kenworth body. So now it's American, you know,
Right.
and which is fine. There's no problem with that. It's like, well, now I've
Really,
got a
there
truck that
isn't.
works, you know,
I've been
so
I've been thinking about making some kind of custom rig. I've been thinking about it for quite a while, and I still haven't done it. But doing some kind of custom rig and using those European wheels, those like ones with the, I don't know what they are, and all you rig people know, but they're like a chrome rim, deep dish for like the rear tires, but they got this big, huge circle center
okay.
lock hub that sticks out through that chrome rim.
Oh,
And
okay.
then it's like, I don't know what they call it, but the idea of that tire and rim combo is such a neat idea, because
Yeah.
it's such a bold and like, you know what it is. You see it and you're like, that's a European wheel,
Yeah.
because that's what they use out there. It's definitely not American. And I like the look of it. And I want to do some kind of custom rig. And it may not even be a rig. Maybe it just be a big 4x4 pickup with a dually that I'm using those
Yeah.
rims for. Because
Yeah.
the rim idea is such a neat idea.
Yeah. And I mean, it is funny. You look at some of their stuff that they have, and it is some neat stuff. You know, I
Right.
mean, they even do a lot more advertising, especially in the 1/87 scale. Cause like, you know, you go on eBay and stuff like that, and it's like all the different beer and all the different stores and stuff like
Right.
that. And then here, when they do it out here, it's like, oh, no. The only people who are getting that are the company that ordered it. That's it. You know,
Right.
it's,
Exactly.
it's like, but I want the Bobcat truck because I see those. I want the, you know, and so it's kind of, you know, you sometimes sit there and you go, it's kind of sad because you're like, well, why don't you just make a larger run of those and sell them to other people? Because, you know, more than likely, if you're going to give them out to a company, you
I,
know, if
I think that's the common sense thought behind it. And from what I know from big business, and I mean big business, there's not a lot of common sense that runs big
yeah,
business. It's numbers and percentages and stats that they only see. And
yeah,
if it doesn't make sense in a common sense wise, then that doesn't compute to them.
yeah, I know. And that's one of the, that's one of the things that I see as a downfall right now. So we were talking, I was watching your, it wasn't Ken, it was the interview you did with Noyce, Jeff Noyce,
Yeah.
the ambulance guy,
Ambulance guy.
you
Yeah.
know, where he was all upset about the River Point station not coming out with the ambulances. And then, you know, I got on that group and I'm reading and it says, oh, they're not making the ambulances because they didn't get enough pre-orders to have the ambulances done.
Right.
And then my question was, were they ever going to tell people that you needed to pre-order? You know, it's
Why?
like,
Why?
why would you, you know, so it's like, well, maybe if you told the community, hey, if you pre-order, we can start
Right.
setting this up. But if you're not going to tell us, how are we supposed to know these things? You know,
Yeah.
because I would have liked to have had those ambulances too. Because again, you know, I do fire trucks, I do police cars, I do all that kind of stuff because that's what's around. I need some ambulances, and you know, the
I mean,
bully
every
trucks just
city
don't cut
does.
it. Yeah,
Right.
every city's got ambulances.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat. You know, it's like I want to do some crashed cars. I want to, you know, I'd like to have some accidents because that's what happens. That's
You
you know.
you remember back in maybe you don't remember, but back in the 80s, Hot Wheels came out with these cars that had doors that would flip. So
Oh
it would
yes,
be,
yeah,
yeah, it'd be like perfectly flat like a regular car, and then a car would hit it and it would push a
flip
mechanism
over.
for it to
Yeah,
flip, and it'd be all dented. That'd
yeah,
be a neat little idea
yeah.
for this scale, to where if you had like a motorized scene just to kind of go back and forth, you
Hmm.
push a button and it starts at the beginning and it hits the
Yeah,
car and then it dents.
yeah.
But before it hit it, it was fine. I don't know. It we there's as of late the episodes have been talking a lot about, what's the next step, and
Yep.
it's like motorization is the next step, not necessarily RC cars, but having things move.
Yeah. Yeah.
That seems to be the next step.
And so this is kind of funny. I got to show you this. So my company sent me to Japan,
Nice.
and let me tell you, the Asians are far ahead of everybody.
Oh no, they are. I literally
Oh.
just said this little 2 episodes ago. I said they're like 5 to 10 years ahead of us.
Yeah. So this was one of my buys, right? It's one of the most popular cars around right now, and it happens to be mine. And it's a Toyota Prius. Right. It's like, well, I can't get this in the United States. I had to buy it in Japan. There was no other place I could get it, because this company doesn't sell over here. And then, here is a road ripper that they have. It's a wheeled road ripper. And I've actually seen this thing work. It's like 1/90th scale, so it's just a little bit smaller. But this was $10 as compared to the $40 one that I got to buy, or what is it now, $60 one from Keebri that I have to put together. This is a die cast, and it's all put together.
Oh, so it's done.
Yeah.
And it's
And
10
then
bucks.
the other thing that I found, and I couldn't tell you what any of these words are, but it's a 1/80th scale radio controlled bus.
You hear that, Jeff Noyce? Look at that.
And this was in a department store. It wasn't even at a hobby shop. It was at a department store where I was staying at. And I said, I got to get me one of these. So I got to play with this while I was in Japan, because it runs off batteries. It's got the little, little stick stuff and all that kind of stuff. It's a little bit of getting used to, but I said, and I left there and I went, I should have bought about 10 more of those.
Not Jeff. It was Theodore. Theodore's the bus guy. Theodore, check that out. You need to hit up Steve here and see if we can figure out a link so you can buy some radio controlled buses.
But yeah, I mean, that was really kind of cool. And I would love to see something like that. I'd love to see, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen, I thought one of the coolest things that I ever saw on video was the Wonderland.
Oh yeah, that's the best thing in the world. Literally the best thing in the world for any hobbyist.
Their fire truck dispatch. Have you seen that video?
Yeah.
Where, I mean, it was just like, oh my, one car goes out, everybody, I mean, it's just like, wow, fire happens. They put the fire out and everything goes away. It's like, wow, would that not be just, so cool if we could hook
that would
something
be
like
so
that.
Here's my thought to do an interactive module like these is to have little buttons on the outside here, and probably like a little text of what that button does, and then have everything on a track to where it literally does that. It just comes out of the firehouse, makes a corner, and then maybe stops behind it to where you can't see it behind another building or something. And then it comes back in, so you can do it all over. But what would happen is, if you were to do that, you hit the button, the sirens go on, the lights turn on, then the garage door opens for the fire trucks come out, and then they make the turn, and then you do it all over like it's an active scene getting ready to do it. I thought that with the Ghostbusters car, to have that just like in the movie, the doors roll up, the siren turns on, the music plays, and then the car goes out, and then it just comes right back in, and you push the button again.
Yeah, there's a model railroader, and I can't remember his name. He is, I want to say he might be Australian. He did an auto plant. I wish I could remember his name off the top of my head, but he did an auto plant. So of course, outside the auto plant, what has he got? Auto racks. He put in one of those Magna systems where the cars come out of the factory and get loaded into the cars. And so he made this whole ramp. The ramp's got the mag section underneath it, and the cars go in. And then of course, it's 2 cars that he set up. And then the second car is where they go back down underneath the whole layout, and they go back into the factory.
That is neat. You hear that, Mike Bud? That's your next step. Look at this video. You got to find it, and you got to put that on your layout.
Yes. But that was
That's
really kind of
crazy.
cool. It's just like, wow, that was just crazy. And you know, he goes step by step how he did it and all that.
It's so neat because that is the perfect way to get rid of the car from the train cars, to have the car in front and they just drive right in there and then
Yeah,
go down
yeah,
underneath the layout somehow. That is perfect.
yep. And
Literally
so,
perfect.
and then he can, you know, like back the train up and put a whole bunch of more cars on it, but just leave those two that he's got
Yeah, yeah.
stationed and
Yeah,
take the cars
exactly.
out like he's, you know.
Yeah.
So it's but yeah, I think I think the animation and some of the things that they can do with that is going to come a long way. I mean, the lighting already is just insane.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
it's definitely getting out there. As of probably the last 5 years, it's
yeah,
really blowing up to be
yep,
something a lot bigger and better.
yeah. And so I mean that was step one, and now the next step is how small of a little motor can we put in there, and how do we
Yeah, we
control
need
it?
to, like, unfortunately, Wonderland's in Germany, but we need to get an American version of Wonderland, or just have them do an American English like how-to for
Yeah,
every little thing they've ever done.
yeah.
I don't need to do a how-to on the airport, but how-to with somebody chopping wood, or how-to if there's a bike rider down, going down, or if I don't know, or
Yeah,
just a how-to on all their little secrets of moving stuff.
yeah, that was pretty amazing. And then I was fortunate enough, like I said, when I was over in Japan, I went to their transportation museum, which is all about trains.
Oh
And
wow.
in their transportation museum, oh yeah, and let me tell you, I that's where I kind of fell in love with using a train, not just because so efficient, so great. You know, the train leaves on time, it gets you to where you want to go to
Yes.
and all that. It's
Right.
just fabulous. Well, in their train museum, they had a layout, and I forget whether it's N scale or HO. I can't remember right now. And unfortunately, I didn't have, it was enough years ago that I didn't have a video,
Mhm.
but it cycles every 45 minutes, it cycles through a Japanese day.
Oh, nice.
So you start off at like midnight, and then lights start turning on, the trains start up, the trains start going off to their destination. Then they literally have rush hour. They have a ton of
Oh,
cars start moving all over the place and going to
oh
rush hour and
wow.
all that. And then rush hour
That's
kind of
neat.
dies down and they have some normal traffic, and then the train traffic slows down a bit. And then it's going all the
Man.
way through the day, and it kind of goes across the room. So it starts on one side of the room and goes to the other end.
So you have a
And
sunrise and a sunset.
yeah, and then where it
That's
steps at,
cool.
so then you have another rush hour for everybody to go home, and then at the very end, which, you know, Japan, huge on baseball, they have a huge baseball stadium, and the lights come on in the baseball stadium, and the crowd starts roaring and all that kind of stuff, and they're
That is
playing a
so
baseball
neat.
game, and then the sun goes down, and it was just like that was so neat, you know, it
Yeah,
was just
Wonderland
so
does
cool
that
to see.
too. I don't know what their time frame is, but Wonderland
Yeah,
does it morning, afternoon, and night, seeing, several hours of the day. The idea of doing that is so neat. I
yeah,
mean, you would have to have something like that though, in order for that to even make sense.
mhm,
Because if you did that, say, right behind you on your
yeah,
modules and your little layout, there would be no point to go
no,
that far into it. But the idea of doing it
yeah,
is still a neat idea. I was
yeah,
just talking to uh uh he's pretty famous for being on the What's Neat show with Kim Patterson, Joshua Barton,
yeah,
uh
yep,
2 nights ago. And he, on this latest episode that came out today, he was showing a scene that he did on his layout of, he cut out like a wooden or cardboard makeshift mountain, just the outline of it, and he put LEDs behind it that he can switch to yellow orange to make it look like the sun setting behind the mountain.
wow, yeah,
Yeah, I thought that whole idea was ingenious.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, because it's facing that mountain's facing a wall, and it's a flat mountain. It's just made to literally brighten up that wall to look like there's a sun setting. It's just neat,
So
really
cool.
neat.
Yeah, just yeah, the technology that's coming nowadays is just going to be it's going to be really interesting to see what goes on.
Right,
Um, and how they can miniaturize it and all that. And whether or not, I mean, our market will accept it. It's whether or not our manufacturers will incorporate it.
right. That's. That's probably the biggest thing, because even like Woodland Scenics being as big as they are, not one of their vehicles is labeled an actual brand vehicle because they don't have the rights
Yeah.
to any vehicle.
Yeah.
It's a mixed mash of different vehicles of the same era.
Yeah.
Which, and that sucks because that big of a company, how could they not get rights to vehicle manufacturer names?
Well, and then the other thing is I mean, I know I heard you talk that you went over to Europe and all that kind of stuff. Tell
Yeah.
me, how is it that Bush and all of those companies over there,
Right.
how is it that when the new 2022 BMW comes out, that there's
They
a
have it.
2022 BMW that's
Yeah.
produced at the same time? Oh, probably because BMW is coming up and saying, I want to run a 10,000 of these.
Well, that's
You know,
funny you say that.
it's
So, there's a lady named Jennifer Kirk who's in Europe, in London. Well, I guess not Europe, but in the UK. She has her own podcast, and she's been on this show that they run out there on public TV called the Great Model Railroad
yeah, yep,
Build Off.
yeah,
And she was talking to Ken on a couple episodes ago of her own podcast, and I watched it just because Ken was on there. I wanted to see what they want to talk about, and she brought up a perfect question about how does America view model railroading compared to how Europe considers it, because Europe, it's not just a hobby no more. It's a way of life. It's part of your family. It's a thing that families do. They have it on public TV as a
yeah,
model
yeah,
railroading championship.
yep.
Here it's a hobby, and then it's not even a popular hobby compared to other hobbies like
It's a
model
hobby. It's a
railroading,
hobby.
or
Yeah,
RC cars or
yeah.
whatever.
It's a hobby in the basement.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. It's not recognized as anything more than that. And
yeah,
I think that very question you just said is probably what brings the manufacturers to the hobby,
yeah,
is because it's not just a hobby.
hmm,
It's a lifestyle. It's a generational thing that gets passed down in the family. It's a real life thing
yeah,
that people do, unlike here where it's just a hobby,
yeah.
if that. But I have a feeling, though, I don't know how the model car world is out there, meaning the 125th scale, 124 scale model car world. I know out here, as much as hobbies in general are dying, um, every generation, um, the model car world, it's they have the manufacturers making these cars the year they come out,
Yeah.
or a couple months before they're actually out on the market to buy. So I wonder if that's how the car companies, manufacturers view model railroading, is like the model car world they view the model car world out here.
Hmm.
I don't know, but I'm wondering if that's how they see it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is kind of unfortunate because I mean, you'd think that there's so many different ways that you could do it. And um, even like truck manufacturers and fire companies and stuff like that, fire manufacturers and all that, if you build a fire truck and you make it for a volunteer fire company, say there's 50 or 60 firefighters in it, those 50 or 60 firefighters would love to have a copy of their truck.
They would.
Yeah. Uh,
They really would.
it's just kind of like, well, why don't you just, why
Yeah.
don't you just work with these people? Why don't you make some things happen? And I think Tonkin was trying to do that. And then they kind of, they've kind of not been able to progress much farther. I think they got the Kenworth and all that, and they've got some of the people who did some work with them, but now you don't see them producing a whole lot.
Well, it makes sense to have a big company do it, but then big company won't do it. It almost seems like a small mom and pop company would have to pick that idea up.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
instance, there's a company that makes these box cars. I just went to their website today because I want to buy one. For the What's Neat This Week
Yeah. Yep.
show, it's value trains. I don't know how big that company is, but everything on that main website of theirs is like the same box car, just
Yeah.
painted a different. Well, I could be wrong. For all you people that know box cars,
Yeah.
they look the same to me.
Yep.
They just would have different paint schemes on it. And they're doing small runs of his box car. So I think a smaller company would have to pick that
Yeah.
idea up for the, fire, and paramedic rescue units
Yeah.
all over the country.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just kind of, like I said, it is a shame. I mean, you go over to Europe and you go over to Japan, much like what's on your back wall there and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes that's their hobby. Their hobby is to collect the vehicles. It's to collect the things that are out there.
Oh,
And you
those
can,
are all customs.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying? You can
Yeah.
you can see it. You can see it when you look at the magazines that come out every year.
Right.
Here's
Exactly.
Herpa's lineup. Herpa's
Yeah.
putting out 35 new vehicles this year. You know, and here's River Point Station. They're going to put out one.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
in different variations, but it'll be one.
Yeah. It'll be one, but it'll be painted a couple of different ways. So don't worry about it.
And it's not even current. It's an 80s Chevy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an 80s
only in
car.
one scale.
Yep. Yeah. You know, it's and you just sit there and you go, what are we missing? What is it that needs to happen to make things go? But,
I mean, I think the frustration we have with that very reason is the reason why Mad About Cars is doing what he can.
Yep.
Is because the manufacturers will never make it. He says, I can.
Yep.
There we go. If you want it bad enough, you'll have every single version of it you could possibly want in this scale. Yeah,
and he does some really amazing stuff. And then there's some other guys that are on there too. You know, there's guys who make the fire trucks that are on there.
Right.
There's a few other people who are kind of specializing, and it's like, well, good. You know, this is really neat because I was thinking back when I was thinking about, well, what am I going to say on the show and all that kind of stuff. And I was thinking back about when I got involved in the 187th Vehicle Club, which was the first year that they had their show in Ontario, California.
You were part of that?
Yeah, I was there the very first year.
Oh, that's cool.
And what blew me away, the thing that blew me away the most was seeing Trip Aiken's stuff. To sit over there and go, wait, you scratch built this?
Yeah, in
from
such
nothing.
a small scale.
I mean, yeah, you know, and then when he explained how he did everything, it's like, you know, yeah, I made this front end loader out of styrene, out of sheets of styrene. And it's like, and I made this Grove crane out of sheets of styrene. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. Because and then after I made it, you know, I cast it all so that it would make it look better.
Right.
Like, oh my God, you know, and it's, and to sit there and see things like that. I got to know Bob Leinbach too, before he passed away. So the show, I got to meet a couple of people. So it's kind of like, you probably had that same little experience at one point in time where it's like, wow, you mean there's a bunch of other people like me that actually like just this part of the hobby? Really? I didn't know there was other people like that out there.
So brief little story. So I was getting burnt out of Hot Wheels. I was customizing Hot Wheels for probably 5 years. And these Japanese guys were blowing me out of the water. I couldn't compete, nowhere close. And I don't like cutting up die cast like that anyways. It drives me crazy because it just takes too long.
Yeah.
So I was looking for something else. I didn't want to get back in the 125th scale world because I felt like my skills weren't good enough still to be where I wanted to be. And so I customized one 59 or 59, 49 through 51 Merc that Woodland Scenics made with the, you know, the girl on the hood and the guy standing next to her. And I chopped it, I lowered it, I put some side pipes down on it, and I was like, okay, I did that. And I did that, my son's 18, probably 18 years ago, way before I got into this scale hobby. And so when I was looking for another thing to do to get out of the Hot Wheels, I looked on Facebook and I looked at 187 scale. I knew what the scale was. So I looked up 187 scale. There was only one group and nothing else for it. Everything else that dealt with 187 was HO 187 or HO. And I wasn't building a train set. So I was like, well, I got to get in this group. I have to. And so when I did, I was like, this is a super small group of people, but these are the people I've got to get to know because this is now the scale I'm going to build.
Yeah.
Because I already know I can do it, and I'm going to bring my skills that I already have from bigger scales down to this, and hopefully blow everybody's mind.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was, I mean, even now it's still a small hobby
Mhm.
compared to HO train set scales and all other hobbies. This is a
Yeah.
very small niche of this
Yeah.
scale.
And it's like, it's really funny. Like I said, I'm involved in the model railroad community and all that kind of stuff. And then when I come up and I do something and I show them some things and all that kind of stuff and say, oh yeah, this is the latest thing I built and all that, they're like, oh my God, how did you do that? And it's like, well,
Right.
it's just a truck. You
Yeah.
guys sit there and spend all this time drilling little holes in train engines. It's like I do the same
Yeah.
thing with the truck. And a lot of times it's just easier. Just throw stuff
Yeah,
in
you could
there.
probably, some person could probably have 50 to 150 aftermarket little tiny pieces they put on that train
Yeah.
engine.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing you're doing with the vehicle.
Yep.
Not as many pieces, but you're customizing that vehicle, making it look cool, just like they're doing with their train.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not that hard. It's just like everything else. It's
It's
not
probably
really
a
that
lot
hard.
easier than the train engine, because that
Yeah.
train engine literally has 150 pieces you could
Yeah.
add on to that to just make it look a little better. Vehicle is not going to have that many pieces you can add
Yeah.
on to it.
Well, it was like when I went to that first show, and it's kind of funny. I was looking through the 187th and I said, I thought I had more pictures in here than just my fire engine, and I still have the fire engine, and it was a show winner. And it was like, well, I didn't really do too much. I just painted the inside and all that. And then because I really liked firemen and I'd been a fireman for a very short period of time and all that, I said,
Thank you
well,
for
I
your
know what
service,
it goes
Esther.
in there. It's like I know how the hosers are supposed to look like. I know how all this, so I'm going to make it do that. And I put in the chemical boxes, and I even put in little Scott air packs in the seats in the truck. And
Nice.
everybody's like, "Oh my God!" And it's like, well, they're just little pieces of yellow stuff that
Right.
I stuck in
Right.
there that
Yeah.
look like tanks. You can't. I mean, I think you said it at one point in time. It's small enough. You don't need that real detail because you're not going to see it. It's like,
But
come
hey,
on.
it was a show winner, so obviously.
Yeah, yeah. So it was, but it's just kind of funny. It's like, I just look outside and see, oh, this is how this guy who builds houses, this is how his truck is staffed up.
Yeah.
Here's the lineman truck that they use for electrical pieces. This is the stuff that they have in it. It's
Well, that's funny you say that, because I've mentioned this guy quite a few times. Well, I can't say quite a few, but a few times. Um, Ryan Kelly. He passed away, I think, 2 years ago now, and it was some bad circumstances. But he
yeah.
was, in my opinion, a master modeler.
Mhm.
He had taken this little tiny, maybe 2 foot by 1 foot piece of wood. He made a road on it. He built the road exactly how you would build a real road.
Oh,
Dug
yeah.
out the layer of the width. Then he laid down little tiny rocks or big rocks, and then he laid down little rocks on top of it. And then he laid down the grading or whatever. Then he laid down this other layer, and then it was like 7 layers to this road. And I was like, is there a cutaway so everybody
Yeah.
can
So you
see
can
what?
see everything.
And there wasn't a cutaway for anybody to know that he did that. And I was like, why did you put all that into that? Nobody's gonna know. You could
Yeah.
have literally just slapped down tape road on top of
Yep.
that dirt,
Yep.
and it would have been just fine. But he put so much detail in everything he did. I wish he was still alive, because and in better circumstances of before he ended his life. But he was so good,
Yeah.
and I miss seeing his talent, because he
Mhm.
had a true talent.
Well, that's like I got to meet so I knew the guys from Puget Sound Casting, Ken Noyce and Jim Billington. I got to know them, and they took me down, and I got to see Lyle Noah's logging layout. And if you'd ever seen that logging show that they do out here,
No,
I forget, it's on Discovery. I
is it
can't
still on? Are they still doing a logging
I
show out
think they
there, or
still kind of
was it?
do. It was one of those reality shows where they pitted teams against one another and all that kind of stuff.
Oh no, I never seen that.
we went to his layout, and his layout was a train that carried logs, because literally he had a 4x8 section of what was clear cutting. And it was amazing. He had the truck that with the mast, he had all the wires, he had all the guide wires for the mast truck to begin with. He had the little motor that pulled the logs up and stuff like that, and all of the loading vehicles and all that kind of stuff, all the logging trucks and all, cut down all the trees the way they were supposed to be cut and all that kind of, it was just like,
wow.
And you know, he was just amazing, the stuff that he did.
See, and exactly what you're saying right there, and how you and me think about putting extras.
Yep.
You know, eye candy for people to see.
Yeah.
If he didn't have Paul Bunyan and that blue ox in that scene, the whole scene's useless. He built that for nothing.
Yeah. Where's Paul? Or a
or a Bigfoot. Yeah, a Bigfoot. Yeah,
Bigfoot. One or the other. That's the other thing that's
right.
goes out there. Yeah, and it is just amazing. Sometimes you see some of the things that these people do. It's like,
that
wow.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
That brings me up to thinking just what Ken Patterson did. He built a diorama of his whole house with the bluff that he sits on, and with the train track underneath, and the thing was probably 4 feet high.
Yeah.
And I don't know, 5 feet wide maybe, because of the depth. And why do all that? I get it. It was really cool that he did it, but man, it's such a big modular model scene to build for it not to really be useful.
Well, that's like this was so last year Walters had a building contest that you could enter and all that. So I said, okay, I can use this for my new bigger layout that I'm going to have when I move. And so one of the things that's on this, and it's right next to the road, you can't miss it, it's a chicken feed plant. And I said, well, okay, neat. It's got some grain elevators, it's got a building, how hard could it be? Yeah, that was a stupid statement to make. You know, so I got into the point where it's like, okay, well, the chicken feed goes around and the grain goes back and forth into this mill, and it has to, how does that all work? So now I get online. Okay, so how does this all work? Oh, okay, so this is, okay, now I got to build a whole conveyor system. They didn't have one. I had to build it so I could connect all the things.
It's just a generic kit probably.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so now I have to build this. What does it look like? How do I make this? Oh, look, it's a big tube with walkways next to it. Great. How do I make all the grading walkways? You know? And so, you know, I did all of this stuff, and I said, this was just supposed to be an easy chicken feed ranch.
Right,
you know, and it took me like 4.5 months to build it.
Oh, man.
But, you know, now when you look at it, if you take a picture of it and you look at it and you go to the one that's down there, it's like, it's pretty damn close.
That's awesome.
To what it looks like. So it's like, well, I'm pretty proud of it.
That's how I build a lot of my movie cars. I look at online photos of real cars, of the real car, and I try to build it as close with as many details as that car really had, because I don't want to just build it and just to build a generic. I want to build it and it to be the best version of that car anybody's ever built. I don't know why it's in me. There's a constant competition against myself to build it better than anybody's ever seen it built.
Yeah.
And that was the whole reason I put lights in the Ghostbusters car. I said, Shapeway offers the car. Anybody can buy that car.
Yep.
Who's going to be crazy enough to put lights in it?
Yeah.
Nobody. And if they do, good luck.
Yeah.
So I couldn't put lights in it. I had to ask somebody, hey, do you think you can pull this off? And they're like, we can try it. I was like, have the car. Keep it as long as you need to make sure you can get it to work. I think he had it for like 6 months, but he ended up getting it to work. And I've said it before, and I've even had him on the podcast, but John Howard, that was you, buddy. You built the very first Ecto in this scale with lights, because even Wonderland and Germany didn't have lights in their Ecto. So you were the first. But yeah, that's how I see it. I want to build the very best and most detailed version of that a builder can build until somebody else decides to take over and knock me out of the first place standing.
Yeah. It's kind of like too, what's funny is when I start looking at the vehicles and the stuff that I have and all that, one of the things that kind of bothers me, I have enough cars and trucks and stuff like that, and I did it for a specific reason. Even as old as I am, and I've been in this for a long time, this little vehicle I don't like that much because these little things down on the bottom don't turn. This one turns, right? The wheels actually turn on it. So I still play with my cars. I like to drive my cars around on my layout. I like to take them around. So it does me no good to have these static car displays. I want stuff
unless they're parked in their parking lot.
Exactly. And so it's really kind of funny. So I will move. Even the train people come up and go, what are those? It's like, what do you mean? You know, those weren't there the last time you showed this. Oh, you mean Main Street has all new cars on it? Yeah. Yep. New trucks went
as
through.
They would.
Yeah.
As they would. They're
like,
not in a permanent parking spot.
Yeah. They're like, how do you do that? I said, because this is the way the world works. This is,
I mean, the person that put that car there probably parked there to work, and now they're going home.
Exactly. Yeah. So I like doing that. I still like playing with my cars. I like playing with my cars and trucks. So I like things that move. I like the stuff that, I would love to have the fire trucks that aren't attached to the ground with lights in them and all that kind of stuff. So I got to figure out, how do I get the smaller batteries so I can make the lights go, so I can make the trucks move, because I don't want them to just plug them in and say, oh, it's good. Yeah,
like even my cars, like I got the Ecto right here. Oh, there goes another Ecto just falling. But I've got these Ectos. Oh, I'm just breaking stuff. That's good. I got, the Ectos, and there's a wire. Yeah. And the wires I leave out so I can move these cars anywhere on the module I need, and then I'll just hide the wire later somewhere. But same thing. I want it to be lit up, but I also don't want it to be in one place its whole life. So I leave everything exposed. So when I take it to the Amherst show next year, or the St. Louis meet, maybe this year. I don't think I'm going this year, though. They'll probably cancel that. I can move stuff. It doesn't have to be in the same exact spot you saw it last year.
Right. And it gives you more validity to it. It makes it feel like it's real.
Right. But the problem with leaving these cars out here on top of this layout, or this module, is the dust. I got so much dust in this house. It's unbelievable. My air filtration system sucks, and we just got a brand new one. I don't know. I need a dustless air filter. Yeah, I can't even talk. Air conditioner. That's what I need.
Yeah.
I also need dustless windows that I can leave the window open and not have any dust come in here. But see, I think a lot of the problem is too in the east, southeast, or just the east. There's so much more trees out here than there is Southern California, where I'm from. That the pollen when spring comes around is sometimes unbelievable. It's so thick you could eat it. Unbelievable.
Yeah, we get yellow driveways here. It's like the other thing that we get, the thing that we really love, that my wife loves, is when it snows in the springtime. And what I mean by when it snows in the springtime, the cottonwoods are in bloom, and there's so much cotton stuff that comes down. It looks like it's snow because there's so much of it that comes down. Yeah, it's that thick, so. Wow.
I don't know what we have in our backyard or in this neighborhood. We got some tree that it seems like every other year to every 3 years, when it decides to bloom in spring, it almost has these little dust bunnies that just fly off of it. It look like it's snowing.
Yeah.
But obviously there's no weight to it. It's like a dandelion dust.
Yes.
So it falls down so slow, and it was so heavy in our backyard one day. I told my daughter, she was like, 7. I said, look, it's snowing. And the sun's out, it's 70 degrees. And she was too young to know. And I said, you should stick your tongue out. And she did. She goes, Dad, I don't think this is snow. I was like, oh man, I thought this was snow. What is it then? I mean, she only got one piece in her mouth, but that was enough. The pleasures of being a father.
Yep. Ways you can torture your kids without having to go to jail.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's neat that that you model that, because I think definitely gives you a lot more option instead of modeling, say, 1950 to 1960.
Yep.
That is such a specific time frame that you're very limited, even though most things that are built from companies are in that time frame.
Yeah.
But you're still limited to anything possible that's just coming out.
Right.
So it's definitely I like that time period. In fact, all my hot rods and customs are built to see what you would see at a car show today. So it totally fits the modern time period to have it any modern layout.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, which is kind of cool. And and I mean, they've done a good job on supplying the types of cars that you can do for hot rods. Now, the one that I have to re-get again, because my brother-in-law used to drag race. One of my my brother-in-laws who passed used to drag race. But and I think it is Jan, has the 74 Chevy Nova coupe.
Oh, I'm more than sure it is him.
You know, and that car was such an iconic car.
Yes.
Right? But it was a people car, but so many of them were turned into drag racers.
Yeah. You know, well, because it was the midsize compared to a Caprice, or basically the Caprice, which was the land yacht of GM back then. That same year, you could get the midsize car with almost the same size engine.
Yeah.
So you're getting probably, 500 to 1,000 pounds less weight with the same amount of horsepower.
Yeah.
And it was just perfect.
Yeah. So that's one of the cars I have to redo and then make it two ways. I have to make it one as the normal car, and then one as hopefully, if I can get some pictures from my sister or something like that, one is the dragster that he built.
Nice.
Because he had the nice blue one with the jacked up back end and all that kind of stuff and all. But
that's cool.
But there was always something about that car that it was just like, I don't want to say that it was an ugly car, but it was a very utilitarian car. But it also was just this, it became a muscle car.
Right. Because it didn't start its life that way.
Yeah, that didn't look like any of the other muscle cars that have ever been produced. It's like, it's got a baby seat in the back. It's like, yep.
Right. Yeah, well, that's what's crazy, because if you talk to muscle car enthusiasts, they'll tell you that the muscle car pretty much started in 65 to 66. That's the start of like the GTO era, the Chevelle era, and all these other muscle cars. But what's crazy is even some of those cars at the highest peak of their horsepower, of their engine block size, still didn't have a 409. It was probably a little bit smaller. When the 409 came out in 1961, that had more horsepower than a 327 or a 350. So I don't understand how the muscle car era doesn't recognize the early 60s as the start of the muscle car era.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in the Nova came out, what, 1963, 64?
Yeah, something
the little
like that.
box Nova. I mean, that was like a mini version of a car that you could get a huge engine in there if you knew how to fit it in there.
Yeah. It just had this huge area to put stuff in.
Right. And it was a tiny car. So that's a perfect drag racing car. And the Nova has always, been a hot rod, basically. The hot rod of the muscle car world.
Yeah. It was always kind of neat. And like I said, they would never produce that because it's a normal family car.
Right.
It's not that cool. It's not an SS. So why would we make one of those? It's
Which is another thing I just talked about with somebody. I think it was Joseph's second podcast episode, I said the 64 Impala drives me crazy. It's out there in resin. It's out there in 3D print. It's not out there in big company toy-wise for our scale.
Yeah.
But every design that was made to be printed or recasted in resin or 3D printed is the SS version.
Mm-hmm.
Grant you, it's too small to really tell the difference between an SS and not, but I can tell. And even in the Hot Wheel world or the model car world, they're all SSs. None of them made the regular lower end trim line version of that car. And it pisses me off because as much as an SS is cool, I like that lower end model too.
Isn't that the car that isn't okay? Since you're from California, isn't the lower end car really the one that kind of almost started the whole lowrider trend?
Believe it or not, no, the SS did.
Did it?
So yeah, there is that movie Up in Smoke by Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, no, never saw that one. No.
That car is an SS 64 Impala. And then there's a very famous car, only mostly in the lowrider world, which the Historical Automotive Committee has labeled the most beautiful lowrider ever designed, called the Gypsy Rose, which is an SS 64 Impala. I mean, what started the lowrider craze is any 64 Impala. Or 63 Impala, because not everybody just had an SS laying around. But back when the mid 70s, early 70s to mid 70s hit, when lowriders became a thing, I mean, those cars were in junkyards or just left on the street, an SS or a standard Impala, because the gas crazes were like going crazy and nobody wanted a big block engine or something, or a big engine. Every car went smaller with smaller engines. So those cars are just laying around everywhere, and they were able to get them for nothing.
Yeah. And I mean, that's when I hear Impala and stuff like that, I mean, that's the first thing that I think of, convertible lowrider.
Good. That is the only thing you should think of. Who cares about a stock car? Who cares about a muscle car? When I hear Impala, all I see is lowriders.
The only lowriders that I don't like, and it just, because I just feel like it's an insult to them, is when I see a lowrider pickup truck. It's like
the mini truck lowriders.
Or something like that. It's like, you just look at that and you go, poor truck. This isn't what you're meant for.
Well, perfect example of something that is not meant for. Look at the 2015 to 2021 pickup truck today. You can get a fully loaded GMC or Silverado for around $80,000.
I know.
That is a luxury vehicle that if you bought the fully uploaded version of that, you're never taking it or using it for what it was made to be used for.
No, I know. And you see them out here all the time.
Yeah. So I look at that and I think, oh, that's just a glorified lowrider truck.
Yeah, it's just that they made it taller. It's like, okay, well,
right. You put probably the same amount of electronics that you would see in a lowrider truck today, just in a luxury vehicle.
Yeah. Which they're never. Oh, honey, why are you putting the groceries back there, back in the back of the bed? You can't do that. It's like, but it's a bed. It's
because they don't make any standard cab trucks anymore. That's why. So you can put them inside the vehicle.
I know. I know it is. It's really kind of funny. And to go out and try to find that F-150, because I mean, F-150 has always been synonymous that you walk into an F-150 and, they thought about putting carpet on the floor, because
right.
It was
a
work truck. We've got rubber carpet on the floor.
I love the fact that you watch a commercial today for a full-size truck, and they give you in the commercial, they give you the option to go both ways. You can go on a night on the town in a luxury vehicle, or you can go heavy duty in the dirt in a dirt mill somewhere, loading your truck up. Nobody's going to do that in a fully loaded truck.
No, nobody's ever going to do that.
No, they will go on a night out, but they're
Yeah.
not going to take it to a mine and then fill it up with rocks that'll
Yeah.
dent the truck.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Or take it off road and have that one bush just scratch across the side of it.
Heck, the one bush blow the airbag out. Now you got a total truck for an airbag with no dents in the truck.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. It is just it's the way the vehicles are nowadays. It is just you can't just find something you can just drive. It's like, oh, you just want a commuter car? Well, that's $30,000.
Right.
I just need a seat, a steering wheel, and
Yeah.
windows. That's all I want. And
Maybe
maybe
preferably a stick,
Yeah,
so I actually can drive it.
yeah, yeah. I know, and it's just such a shame in a way. But I don't know. It's just kind of funny. And now you even look at it. Look at the utility trucks that come out now, and the van. I mean, come on, a van. How much does
Right.
a van cost that's empty?
That's so funny. So I have a 2015 Toyota Sienna van that's one step lower than the highest end model. So it's got the leather, it's got everything. It just didn't come with a DVD player.
Oh,
So yeah, we didn't need that. But I looked at the 2021, which is an all electric. It doesn't take gas at all no more. And the fully loaded spec, I spec'd it out online just to see how much it would cost. 50 grand.
yeah.
For a fully spec'd out minivan. Give me a break. No way I'm gonna pay that much. That's just stupid.
Yeah, the cost of vehicles nowadays. I realize the cost of everything has gone up and all that.
And they continually will,
Yep. And
unfortunately.
and that's one of the bad things about this hobby too, is the cost of the vehicles going up.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of funny. I look online, I look at eBay or something like that, and I say, so let me get this straight. You bought that Boley truck for $7. You
Right.
put a sticker on it, and really that's all you did. You put one decal on it, and you're selling it for $75. It's
Hey,
like,
if there's dumb enough people to buy it, then that's on them.
I know. I mean,
But
I
that's
understand.
the difference from somebody that collects trucks and
Yeah,
somebody that could build a truck.
yeah,
Because we
yeah.
know.
It's like, come on, man, it's not that much.
Right.
But yeah, I think with the 3D stuff that's coming out, and that's kind of one of the things I really wish in a way that Riverfront would just um offer a stick truck. Nothing. Here you go. Here's the cab, here's the wheels. Because like Promotex did that for a while. Promotex and Herpa did that with the American trucks. It's like, yeah, no trailer, no nothing. It's going to be white and it's going to be disassembled, and here you go. And I think that was a huge thing for this hobby, because that's when people started making their own,
Yeah.
utility trucks on the back ends and things like that, and started to, because it's like, okay, I don't have to buy a $20 truck. I just want the front end so I can make my own truck out of it.
Right,
You
right,
know?
right. Yeah, well, so then it would more really be better just to have a part tab where you can
Yeah.
just pick which part of that vehicle you need instead of needing the whole vehicle. Although, whenever I've ever the only way I've ever gotten any of those trucks, I've never bought one, was always some customer saying, hey, would you build me a custom truck? And
Yeah.
my payment is always, if you send an extra one, so it's for me.
Yeah.
Because I could put $70 to $100 into it, but I still don't want to go buy one just so I
Right.
could go customize it myself. But if you send me two, which only cost you probably $40 in all,
Yeah. Yep.
then I'll consider that payment. And I looked at all the trucks I've ever built, and yeah, they're like $70 to $100 worth of, stuff I did to it, but I only got a $20 investment out
Yeah.
of it. But it's not, I don't need the money. I just want the truck and I don't want to buy it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
it's probably being lazy or cheap, but
yeah.
I don't know.
But no, to me, that's a good deal and all that kind of stuff. It was really kind of funny. I just did that with a deal with a friend of mine down south. I needed to get a bunch of decoders put in like 4 or 5 train engines. And so I knew what error he was doing and what he was doing and all that kind of stuff. And I mistakenly bought a bunch of train cars from that error. And I'm like, I'm never going to use these. They're 85-foot flat cars. They're not going to be what I use. So I said, hey, you want a dozen 85-foot flat cars?
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't you put these decoders in for me?
Right.
It's
Nice.
like, it's just, and I knew for him, he does a lot with his kid and stuff like that. And his kid gets into the model and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, oh, here you go. And it is nice to kind of get the little traits, to have the little things.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
hey, we'll do this, and then you get that for it. Okay, that's fine.
Right.
Yeah,
I do that every once in a while. I mean, just recently I had what is his name? Ryan Kelly, the crane guy. He just did a trade with me straight up for the Harry Potter train, which is a real working HO scale. A lot of people say it's bigger than HO, but it's an HO scale train of the Harry Potter train, because I want to do a Harry Potter diorama. And he traded me straight up. He gave me that train, which is a lot of money. It's like $300 worth of train or whatever.
Yeah.
For just a few cars that I've already built.
Wow.
And I said, dude, if you want more cars, you just let me know. I will start building them right now. You tell me what you want. Because what I gave you is not worth how much this train is. He goes, yeah, but we're never going to use that train. It's just collecting dust.
Yep.
And I was like, but it's still worth more than the cars I gave you. But yeah, it's cool to have the availability to do trade stuff like that.
Yeah.
You got something somebody else can use, and they got something you can use. And as long as you guys are good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, so what? This cost me this much money, but I really wanted that, and I can't do that. So sure, let me have that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, there's I did a podcast with, I don't want to say, I did a podcast with somebody, and I don't want to say because I can't remember his name, with somebody else. And a couple weeks after the podcast, or a couple weeks after his episode went up, he hits me up and says, hey, do you have a logo? And I said, like the logo I use for the show, the podcast? And he goes, no, like your Halfass Customs logo. And he said, without the podcast. And I said, I mean, I do and I don't. And he goes, I want to put it on a boxcar and send it to you. I'm going to custom paint a boxcar with your logo on it, and it'll be just for you. And I was like, that is awesome. Nobody's ever done that. I wasn't going to ever do that for myself. And that's a perfect background piece for, something that has my name on it, my company name, my fictitious company.
See, now you have to put a rail spur into your new office, the new big office.
Yeah.
To have a rail spur on it, right?
Right. Well, I don't have that building in here, but I did take an old train warehouse that had two bay doors, not bay doors, but like the, what do they call those? Like a bar door, the bar doors that swing open. Yeah. Two bay doors that were able to fit trains in, that trains would roll in. And I took the outline frame of the doors and I put it in my warehouse, my new shop that I'm building, that I'm probably never going to finish, but it can fit a train in there. So that's what he said. He said, I watched that episode that you showed that, and it gave me the idea to build you a car so it can roll in there. And I'm thinking, this is a custom car shop. It wasn't going to have a track set up inside for a train to pull in for no reason. Like we were going to pave over that, and it was going to be flat for cars to go on. But now I'm thinking, if he's going to do that, I might have to keep a set of tracks in there that were never there to begin with.
Yeah, embed a set of tracks in there and say, well, okay,
right.
Just in case they get a whole lot of custom orders, and, we have to use the boxcar.
I don't want to take my forklift from outside and drag all that stuff in there back and forth. I could just pull the train car in there. Yeah, but if he sends that to me and I ever get back on that garage, I'm gonna have to rethink the layout of one of those doors. Even if, I don't know, it was never a thought to put a train track in there, but he's going to build that. So I'm going to have to put a train track somewhere for that module, just so that can sit next to the building somehow.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't want to take the wheels off and just set it up on blocks like you would in like a industrial setting or something. So it'd have to be on a track where it can move.
Yeah.
Just has to.
Yep. Yeah. It'll look good. Oh, bring the
Right.
warehouse in. Take the warehouse out, baby. That's
yeah, right, exactly. So that, and I was actually going back to that Value Trains company that does the What's Neat thing. I was going to buy one of his cars so I can have the Dukes of Hazzard car jump over the box car.
Oh, right.
And
is it over it or is it through it?
Well, mine's going over it because I'm not opening those doors. So the scene was gonna take place is there was gonna be like a flatbed truck getting ready to load up a parked car on the side of the road.
Yeah.
But he was obviously in front or on the side of the car. So the parked car's here and the truck's here for no reason because it's not going to be able to load the car up that way. And then the Dukes of Hazzard would be midair over it while the cop car is like crashing on the side of it, getting ready to turn. Because I mean, you have to have a police car chasing him, obviously, and it's got to crash because there's a train going over the trestle. So you have to.
That's like so here's a crazy one for you because I know he has that one too. But this is one of those cost prohibitive ones. You need to get yourself a whole bunch of Chicago police cars.
Oh yeah, to do the Blues Brothers. I got the Blues Brothers car.
do the Blues
just
Brothers.
Just the scene where they're all crashed.
Yeah, where they're just this big stack of police cars.
Right. Well, the cool thing is if I bought a whole bunch of cars and painted them up, too bad I couldn't just buy them all done. That'd be great.
I know.
Paint a thing.
Yeah, you can get New York City police cars, but you can't get Chicago police cars. What?
Right.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. So I just buy like 100 cars, maybe 50 cars. And then there's a guy named Vic Smith who's been on the What's Neat show, and I've been to his house out there in St. Louis. He has the Water's Edge, City Edge, famous layout's been in like every train magazine ever made.
Okay.
Anyways, it's one of the most realistic train sets anybody's ever made, and it's a city. It's the whole city. It's not a whole city. It's just like 20 feet of a city, and it's the most amazing, most detailed, most realistic, without things moving except for the train layout I've ever seen in my life. And he has the L train with the city. So I could just take all those cars, throw them on the layout, and take pictures. Bring the Blues Brothers car, have it going down the street like it's getting away from them. And literally just have them in a handful and just go.
Yeah, just throw them on in there. That's basically all you have to do. That would be hilarious.
So I'll replace whatever I break, but boom.
Yeah, there you go. There's the movie scene. It's done.
Yeah. Here's what's funny. I don't know. I just said this on another episode, like 2 episodes ago or last episode or something. That scene was, that car chase was filmed in 2 sections. There's one section of the Blues Brothers in the car racing down the road, actually doing 100 miles plus down those roads. And when they filmed that, they didn't have city permits to do it. So the city didn't know they were doing it. Now, when the police chase is happening, they had to have that because there's 100 cars going down those roads and then crashing at the end of the road. So they had to have permits for that, but they didn't have permits for the other chase part where they're in the car, because there are 2 or 3 scenes where they literally almost hit a car or hit somebody walking across the sidewalk because they're going too fast. And I think probably for the movie, half the interior scenes or exterior scenes were sped up by like a hair just to make it look like it's going a little bit faster, but they're literally in at least a quarter or more of those scenes literally doing 100 miles an hour underneath that bridge.
Wow.
Yeah, so interesting movie fact for you people.
Yeah, that's kind of, there have been some just amazing movies and all that. Speaking of movies, one of the things that's becoming really popular right now in our hobby, they're making the, now I can't think of the name of the movie. they're making the gas truck that torments that guy. Duel, the movie
Oh
Duel.
yeah. That
Um,
hasn't that already been made like a long time ago, or no?
yeah, but there's all of a sudden there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people
Oh,
making
taking
that.
interest in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people making that, and then there's a lot of people making Smokey and the Bandit now again.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
still don't have a Smokey and the Bandit truck, but out of all these movie cars I've built, that truck seems to elude me, and I don't understand why. I found a
but if you made
website
the car,
that, yeah, I have the car.
you have the car.
Well, I didn't even have to make it. Malibu, whatever that company is,
Oh,
made
made
it.
that one. Okay.
Yeah, same people that made all the other movie cars in that same genre. But yeah, they made that, and I have that. But yeah, I need the car. I need that truck. I don't care for the second movie truck. I think that truck
Yeah.
looks stupid. But the first movie truck is so iconic. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to have it.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of those. It's one of those fun things to just have. But yeah, it's. I mean, when you look back and stuff like that, there's just so many different things that you could do. You know, with
Right.
different vehicles and I mean,
Well,
especially with you doing movie things and all that. It's
yeah. Well, I've said this in a couple of episodes, so probably some people are going to be irritated or annoyed or whatever. But I said, maybe they'll be interested. I said back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, they took a vehicle and made it a character of the movie.
yeah,
So it wasn't just a prop, it wasn't just a background like every movie today is, except for Fast and Furious.
yeah,
That's the only movie they're using a vehicle to help sell the movie as like a movie character almost. But back then, those movies were the cars were the characters of the
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
And they played along perfectly side by side with the actor.
Mhm.
So it's so much more influenced in that day for the movies to have cars like that in it compared to like today. Like today, it's Fast and Furious and maybe one or two other movies
Yep.
that have done it. Like Gone in 60 Seconds, the reboot with Nicolas Cage. I mean,
Yep.
that Eleanor car is the peak of the cars of all that whole movie.
Yeah.
And that's a character in the movie.
Mhm.
And so it's super iconic. But
I mean,
without,
but true in that particular movie though, they downplayed all the other cars,
yeah, completely.
and it's like
They had some really nice cars.
these are all iconic cars, which is why they're on this list, and he is
Right.
focused on one. It's
Except
like,
for that stupid Escalade. The first gen Escalade,
yeah,
so dumb. They didn't need that car in there. All it was a GMC.
yeah. It's
That's all
like,
that car was.
really.
Yeah. But yeah, all those cars were really cool. And see, now I would say I don't care for the original Gone in 60 Seconds as much. I like it, but I don't love it. I love the reboot only because of the cars in that were so much cooler looking
Yeah.
than the cars
Yeah.
in the original. But yeah, movies don't look at cars anymore as characters at all.
No.
And
No.
it's hard for I said it. I said I think it's hard for younger people to really truly look at this scale hobby and
Mhm.
see those cars as things they want to model, because there's
Yeah.
nothing to really kind of go off of. And
Yeah.
the few things that there are, they don't make those models for. Like the Fast and Furious cars, they don't make those models in this scale.
Mhm.
So you can't model that even if you wanted to.
Right. Right.
So and what we do have is just a bunch of old stuff before they were born, probably.
Mhm.
70s and 80s vehicles. So they don't truly get it.
I know I'm kind of I know this sounds kind of rude, but I'm waiting for the time when that generation leaves. It's like, oh, gotta have transition error. No, you don't. No, really, you don't.
Right.
I get the whole Steam thing, but no, really, do we need another Model A? I mean, come on, do we need
Right.
how many more 1950 to 1960 cars do we need? Because you've
Yeah.
made like 17 of the same car from every different company's got, this car.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the 57 Chevy has literally been made 4 different times by 4 different companies,
Yeah.
4 or 5 different times
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. Yep.
And you don't need that many. You need
No.
1 or 2.
Yeah, that's about it. That's all you need. So,
Right.
but yeah, it is really, and then like I said, then they leave around the things that like you were saying, the minivan. How many minivans are there, right? But in our hobby, how many are there? There's like one. There's the Plymouth. There's the Plymouth minivan. That's the
Yeah.
only minivan that they make in the entire hobby. It's like,
Right. And then you got the 70s/80s full-size van that
yeah,
Trident made,
yeah,
but that's not a minivan. That's like
no,
a van nobody wants except to turn into a 18 van.
yeah, yeah.
It's the
That's
only reason to have that van. That's the only reason.
yeah.
If anybody else has that van for any other reason, throw it out. It's trash.
Well, I have a couple of those vans because it's the only thing I have for service vehicles. So throw a roof rack on them.
Throw it out. It's a cheap van. Use a pickup. But yeah, no, that's the thing. Like there's very limited vans. There's very limited of a lot of modern stuff.
Yeah,
And they definitely need more because the younger generation is going to get into this hobby, not care about Steam era, not care about 50s era because it's so old to them.
yeah,
They're going to want to model what they grew up in. Like most people that are into trains model the era that they love the most because it's their youth or something,
yeah,
and our new guys, their youth is now.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they're going to want to model today's stuff. We need more modern stuff.
yeah. We
Just a
definitely do.
fact.
It's. I mean, even the police cars now. There's all of the police cars that they made now. They're so old that
Yeah,
we've already gone past that. We're
right.
we're we're at the expeditions, so you need to start making something. You
Yeah,
need to keep up with the times. And like it was great. Woodland Scenics came up with their all new cars that are unbranded and have lights,
right.
but okay, they're already dated and old.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. They're dated and they're brand new.
yeah,
They're 90s and that's it.
yeah,
80s and 90s new, and
yeah.
that's not new enough.
No, no. I mean, and that's the one thing that I would have to say that I think that's where the construction world, like diecast masters and all that kind of stuff, that's where they're blowing everybody away because they're bringing
Right.
out brand new vehicles. They're bringing out
Yeah.
modern tractors. They're bringing out modern cranes and things like that, things that you're seeing now. And I mean, really, what's the most modern vehicle that we have out there? You've got some, I mean, they're starting to make some of the Sprinter vans, and
What
then
in affordable, not much,
yeah,
but they're super detailed and expensive, like
yep,
$20 to $30 cars.
yeah,
I mean, they've got like every super and hyper car imaginable brand new
yeah,
for, 20 to 30 bucks a
yeah,
car. But if
yep,
you're a young 18-year-old kid getting into this, you're not gonna pay that much for one. And then you can't use it for a modern day car anyways. You got to use it for exotic car show
yeah.
or something. You need all these Hondas and Toyotas and Camrys and all this other stuff, Mitsubishis that you see on the road today to fill up a street layout, a
Yeah,
downtown.
that's like even though they came out and they were old and all that kind of stuff, man. When the what was it? It's the cherries line, the red
Yeah,
cherries line or whatever. Yeah, I got myself a Pacer. I
right.
got me a couple of Gremlins. You
Yeah,
know,
everybody did. They're
because
$5.
yeah, it was like these are cool. This is
Right.
neat. They're
See,
crappy
it's
looking
cool
cars.
to you because of your age, and it's
Yeah,
cool to me because of my age. They were
yeah,
still around when I was a kid.
right.
But you look at a 10 to 20-year-old today, don't
Yeah,
care about that junk. It's
no,
junk.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
it was junk literally when it was new,
Yeah, it was. It
to
was.
1 to 1. So it's definitely junk now.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that you want to buy a Pacer for is for Wayne's World.
That is
That's
it. That's the only reason.
the only reason to have a Pacer.
And the only reason is because they put it in the movie and it was their
Exactly.
car. If it
Exactly.
was in any other movie, it wouldn't have been cool, and
No,
nobody would know it was even in the movie. It would just been skipped over.
because I mean that goes up there with I think that is you know, they always talk about the Etzel and all that kind of stuff, but no, I think the Pacer takes the place, that takes the cake for the ugliest vehicle ever created. That's
The Pacer and the Gremlin together. That they came out same time, same years. Those both are just. Ugh.
but you know, there's something about there was something about the Gremlin hatchback where, you know, like you had a
Well, the
car
Pacer
and
was
then
more rounded, and the
yeah, and then they
Gremlin was more
chopped it in the
squared
back.
up. Yeah, like just cut it. Said we're
It's
done
like,
here. We
it's
don't
like,
need to add on to this.
where's the rest of the car? You know?
Yeah. Well, like the Pacer, they're like, we got to smooth this out. Got to be more aerodynamic, like an egg. This one, it was just like, well, we got to square that kind of leaned over. We should.
Yeah.
We got to fix it. No, we don't. Just
No, we don't. Yeah, just yeah, those yeah, I mean, now it's kind of funny. Now, my dad, when we were growing up, my dad had a an AMC Matador, right? So we did have an AMC growing up. Oh my. So my dad was, you know, he was a World War II vet and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, he's open road and stuff like that. We went on a trip to Arizona, and that Matador, it was a family car. It
right.
wasn't the bigger, but I mean, you know, that thing had the nose of the car was like 20 feet long,
Yeah.
you know. So here's my dad and me and my sister in the back and all that kind of stuff. And we're on an Arizona road. And dad goes, well, let's see what this thing will do.
Nice.
And I looked up and the needle was still going at 150. And you know, in Arizona, how they have the dips in the road.
Yeah,
He
you
saw
feel
the
like
dip in the
you
road, so he
jumping.
let the foot up, but it was still climbing. You know, and it was just
Wow.
like, it's like, oh my God, how fast can this thing
Yeah.
go? You know, I
Right.
mean, that was just a bullet car. But I
Yeah.
don't know what size engine they had it, but it was a huge engine because it took up that whole engine compartment.
Well,
You
it
know,
was a small engine compartment. I mean, when you shove all the stuff that was in, what
yeah.
year was it? Like,
Must have
was
been
it
like
70s?
76, 75.
Yeah. So the
Not the
cars.
square Matador. It was the coupe Matador. So that's the one that the engine compartment was the same size as the people compartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe, yeah, it wasn't that small of an engine compartment then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. That was just always kind of funny. I just remember going, oh, wow, we're going really fast.
Right, right.
But dad would always want to see how fast can this car go? You know?
Well, you got to know. I mean, if you didn't find out, how would you know?
I
You
know.
couldn't trust what anybody else told you. You had to find out yourself.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a bunch of liars out there.
Trade. Come on. That car doesn't go that fast. Oh yeah, you want to bet?
Right. That's funny. Well, back then too, you could still, car manufacturers were still getting away with not necessarily having to put a governor in the car. I mean, a lot of them were, but a lot of them were still trying to get away. And the AMC wasn't really an American, like true American car like Ford or Chevy.
Yeah.
So it probably was able to get snook under the radar and be like, let them go as fast as they want. Who cares?
Nobody's gonna buy these cars anyway. You know?
Right. I mean, if it wasn't for Mad Max making that car famous in any way, it probably wouldn't have been famous, period, ever.
No.
Like any of them. Like the
Well,
Pacer. The only reason the Pacer was famous after it got its famous worst car in the world review was because of Wayne's World.
Yeah.
That was it. And then it died after that.
And then the only reason like the Matador, the four-door Matador ever got anything was because of Adam 12. Because the Los Angeles Police Department bought a whole bunch of them. Nobody else in the country did. No other police department bought those cars, but LA did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy cars, crazy stories, crazy people.
Yeah.
But it's all good. It's all relatable, and it's our history, you know. It's what we grew up with.
Yep.
So if we want to model anything relatable,
you
gotta have some of that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So
and right now the only ones who's got them is Shapeways. That's
right. That is the only ones, because cherries aren't around no more. I mean, you can still find them on eBay but you're not finding them in the stores,
No,
you
no.
know? So
And Malibu models has pretty much gone away. They
yeah,
used to,
those are only eBay items or
yeah,
people selling collections of cars or whatever.
yeah. It's really tough to find some stuff. So
Right. And you know, it's that damn hindsight. If you
yeah,
only knew then what you know now. Because you know, Walmart was selling those Malibus for like, I think on their clearance was like $1 a piece, and
yeah,
then the 5 packs were $5 a piece.
yeah, yeah,
And then if you knew that, like they weren't coming back, you would have been like, I can
yeah.
spend $10 on cars easy,
Yeah.
and then
I
I'll
could
come back in 2 days and spend another $10.
$10. Yeah, I've got a couple of those packs. They're still unopened. I've still
Yeah,
got those cars. It's like, yep, they're going to go on the set at some point in time. But
yeah. Unless you decide to sell them when you see the price of those skyrocket, and then you're like, I got a few I can get rid
wait,
of.
I can get rid of those.
Yeah,
I can get the ones I
hundred dollars
really
for
want.
five. $100 for 5, I could totally
Yeah, I could
sell
do that.
this. Yeah,
I
I
spent
don't need these
$3
anymore.
on these things, so
Right, right, exactly.
it still has the Walmart tag on it.
Yeah, right. That's where they were.
Oh God.
Yeah, I've got a lot of those 187 scale Hot Wheels cars. I was buying those up like crazy.
I was able to get a couple of those. I've got like
Yeah,
the Civic and stuff like that. What was the
yeah.
other one?
They had a
Another
they
big.
had they had 3 years of different vehicles, so three
Mm,
different series.
mm.
The last series was their movie car series,
Oh,
and
okay.
then their first series was like the regular Bone Shaker and other stuff. But that 3 different series, because the 3 years they were putting them out, they decided to put out different cars for each year.
Yeah, yeah.
But they weren't huge runs. There were only like 12 cars in this series and 12 cars in that series. So
Hmm.
altogether, there's not that many different cars that they ever made to
Yeah,
that scale.
yep,
But I got them all.
yeah.
So
I saw a couple of those and I grabbed some of them when I had the opportunity. It's
right,
I also have the Dodge Rams. When Ertl came up with the Dodge Ram a long
yeah,
time ago, I
I
was
got
just
one
like,
of each.
I got almost a half a dozen of each.
That's
So I
good.
got,
Keep them because
yeah,
those
I
things
got,
people are desperately wanting. So you can
yeah, I got,
maybe in the future sell those for a lot of money.
yeah, I got the King cab version and I have the two-door version, the regular cab version. And
Oh, they made 2 different versions. I've
yeah,
only
the
got the
red,
single cab
yeah, there
versions.
was a red truck that was single cab, and then there was a green truck that was a dually, and it was a king
Yeah,
cab,
yeah.
I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then I do have. No, my dually. I'm looking at my dually now. It's a regular 2-door
Is it?
single
I don't know
cab.
what.
Yeah. I mean, mine is. So unless they made 2 different versions of both vehicles, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because my red one is a single cab. Just the 2 doors with the flat glass behind it, and then the dually's that way too. But
Yeah.
I customized my dually. I put some RPS rims on there, the chrome ones, and then I
Yeah.
put the Hot Wheels 187 scale tires on them, the really
Uh-huh.
skinny ones.
Oh,
So they're
yeah.
super low profile, like mini truck tires. And then I slammed it on the ground. So I took the whole chassis off of that. Then I posted that, and they were like, that's worth a lot of money. It's not worth like anything now. You just destroyed the value of that. And I'm like, what do I care? I don't
Yeah.
care.
It's my truck. It's,
Right.
my truck now. I don't care.
Yeah. And I have the red one. I haven't done anything with the red one because I don't know what to do with it. I don't really care for the truck. And then the beginning of this year, the end of last year, Drysdale, London Drysdale posted he made the Twister Dodge Ram pickup truck from the movie Twister,
Oh,
the
okay.
tornadoes. And that they had a Dodge Ram pickup in there that they put the tornado
Stuff on it. Yeah.
yeah. So he posted that and I was like, I have that truck. He goes, I made those things for the bed. I was like, I need some. Now I have a use for this truck. So I've had these 2 trucks for probably 6 years, and I just really had no use for them. So I just slammed the dually because duallies, in my opinion, are meant to be slammed. And the regular truck, I just couldn't see a use for it, but I didn't want to get rid of it.
Right.
So
Right.
trucks.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sure one of mine's going to get very heavily weathered and beat up a bit. and all that kind
Cool.
of stuff. Cause you know,
Yeah, it's a truck.
yeah,
That's what it's made for. Right.
But yeah, I mean, just over the years, it's just been so hard where they get these little limited runs, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
and then, and it's really kind of fortunate. This is kind of a funny thing. I always still go around looking, you know, every time I
Oh, I
go
do
to
too.
like a five and dime store or something like that. It's like, I'm in there. I walked into this one five and dime and they're just a little bit too small, but they're the pullback trucks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep. They had a whole box of them. So there was a dozen of them in there, all different colors, and they're all pullbacks. And nope, I don't have one right handy. But yeah, they were Dodge Rams.
Oh, wow.
And so I
That's
just went,
cool.
I'll just take the whole box.
Yeah, right. I mean, if anything, you just pop the chassis off of something you already have, like an RPS truck or something, and you put that underneath, and now you can literally play with your.
Yeah. But I mean,
trucks.
it's they're so close. I mean, and Matchbox has made some of those who were so close. I was able to get a couple of the Chevy trucks when they did the HO scale Chevy trucks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was able to get a couple of those.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of those.
Yeah, it's just amazing some of the stuff that goes out there, and it's just like, I got to get these because I know they're going to go away. You know,
Right.
I think the only I hate to say this, the redeeming quality about the Boley trucks, and I don't understand why Boley stopped and then sold to Walters. You know, I mean, really, those international trucks, they do never change. Those cabs never change. So those trucks have been a godsend because you can actually use them. They're I mean, look at
for anything and everything.
Yeah, look at the guys doing the maintenance away trucks and stuff like that. They're just like, oh my God, look at this, is awesome. You know, they just keep getting
an
more and more and
unlimited
more
supply. Yeah, and they're reasonably priced, so they can just grab as many as they need.
Yeah, and they've got the two styles. They got the older one and they got the newer one, and I think you can actually go into an international dealer today and see those same two styles.
Right. Yeah, and there's even a company or some particular person making the decal set for the grill and lights. So when you repaint it and put your own decals logo on it, that you could put the lights and grill back on there without having to paint it yourself.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's a company that's doing it or if it's a specific person, but I've seen and heard the reference of this person doing it.
Yeah, and the fact that they started coming out with line trucks, you know, the bucket trucks and things like that, it's just like, wow, great. You know, on my model railroad page, that's actually so being that I'm a car person, right? As I was building my model railroad up, I started with one side on the yard, and well, next to the yard is a road. And so the road was just put in new. And so what do? So nothing's done yet or anything like that. I just kind of have a road in there. So what do? I've got an electric crew out there putting in telephone poles. And
that's awesome.
Because
Mike Budd needs to do that on his.
Yeah.
He needs to work for the telephone company, and you know.
And then so as I moved around building the different parts of my train set, you know, that road's now finished. The poles are up. So now the trucks move someplace else. I got the paving machines in before I put the roads down. It's like I said, I was playing with my trucks while I was building the railroad. It's just like, they keep getting in the way or whatever, but it's really kind of cool. They're just, you know.
Right. Yeah, that was the whole point of having this garage, was I wanted to literally have cars being built in there and me taking pictures of every step. So you could see the cars being built. But this is in this room, and I don't model in this room. I model in my bedroom in front of my 65-inch TV.
Oh, so, okay.
I don't want to put that module in my bedroom and leave it in there.
Yep.
So I don't really hardly ever take pictures with this garage like I meant for it to be.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean that's kind of a cool concept, and I think us 187th vehicle type people, that's what we like to do. I'm like I said, I knew a couple of people, they did the same exact thing that you did. I'm going to build a garage, and as I'm building my cars and my trucks, and they're going to be in the garage. So when I put them down, they're going to be in there, whatever state they're in. That's where they're at, because I'm working on it. And it's like, okay, that seems kind of weird, but I think that's just kind of the way that we are. We're just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would never do what you just described with your maintenance away trucks or whatever. I wouldn't dig a hole and make a scene of them working on that street, putting poles in there, because I wouldn't have even thought of that. But the way you thought of that,
Yeah.
every section you put a new road, you're going to have like a little photo shoot of what they would really be doing basically
Yeah.
on that road. I thought the same thing with the steps of a car building.
Yeah.
So it's like the same exact thing, which is different scenes.
Yeah. There's one of the videos that I made. I had to bring up a section of my my layout up so that it was even with the rails. And I was like, well, how do you do this and all that? And of course, the way that you do it is with styrofoam. You get the thin
Right.
styrofoam.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I said, but if I'm using construction trucks, what am I going to do? So I broke up all of this little styrofoam and put them in dump trucks.
Nice.
And,
Yes.
I had like a bulldozer and the roller and all that kind of stuff. I
Right.
said, well, and so there's like this pile of styrofoam. There's a bulldozer pushing the styrofoam around and all that. And then there's a roller where the flat part of the styrofoam is.
That's awesome.
And then, in a couple of frames later, it's like all the styrofoam's done.
Right. 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 Yeah. It's all flattened. Yeah. That's cool. See, that's ingenuity thinking on how to make a scene come to life.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
and like I said, even though I was building it, it's like, well, what the heck?
Right.
Might as well have some fun doing it.
Yeah, and that's the perfect thing, because I said it a couple times. I don't know if I ever say it and it portrays the way I want it to, but you have a train layout, you have a module, everything's done on it, and all you ever do is take pictures on it. There's never a story. There's just pictures of your module, maybe new cars on it or whatever, but there's no story. You created a whole entire story just in that one scene. You brought that scene, that part of your module, that part of your layout to life, literally, by making a scene and putting it together so it tells a story.
Yeah.
That's awesome. A lot of people don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. And that's another thing missing in this hobby.
Yeah.
Because you could have the coolest layout you've ever seen, but unless little things on it aren't talking to you, aren't telling you a story, then it's a boring layout.
Mm-hmm.
For all you layout people, you're boring if you're not telling stories.
You got to move stuff around. You got to do different things.
And I'm not even a train guy. So I'm telling you, as a fan of layouts, tell a story. Get people enthused and interested in what's going on in that layout.
Yeah, there's one guy out here. He's in a modular club, and he starts off the circuit. He goes to like the modular club goes like 4 or 5 different shows. Every year he does the same thing, but it's kind of cool. He has a corner module, and the first train show that he goes to, there's a tractor in a field and there's a bare spot. And then the next train site he goes to, there's a foundation. And then the next one he goes to, there's this whole, stick house there. And then, by the time he gets finished, the house is done.
That is awesome.
So it's kind of neat. He builds a house, every year.
And the only way you know any of that is if you go to all the shows and you see,
and you see
the progression.
Yep.
I was talking to Joshua Barton. I was talking to him, and we briefly got onto video games, and I don't really know how we got onto that. And he said he plays GTA. He said, "Oh, that's the best video game ever made, Grand Theft Auto." And the bad thing about that game is it came out in 2000, early 2000s. That game came out. No, I'm wrong. Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, say 2013 or 14. Anyways, regardless, that game is still one of the most popular games ever in all of game history for people to still be playing today. And they still make these extension packs that you can play with it. The problem is none of the scenery in the downtown city has got any updates to it. So there is a building that's been being built for the last 6-7 years, and it has no plans on ever getting finished. So it's neat to see certain people take those steps to
Yeah.
make a story happen on their module or their layout or whatever.
Yep.
Even if it's interchangeable, you're doing it purposely to tell a story.
Yeah.
That's really
Yep.
cool.
Yeah. And I have some things that I have planned as soon as I finish some of my buildings on my layout and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to tell anybody because that
It's
ruins the
secret until it's
surprise.
done. Yeah,
Yeah. But
that's
it's
cool.
yeah, it's really kind of fun. I like to try to have fun, rather than I don't like to just watch the trains go around and all that kind of stuff. It's like I like I said before, I like to play with my cars. They have to be doing something. People got to
Right.
go places, mail's got to be delivered and all that kind of stuff. And I like to see the city just move. So
Yeah,
um,
that's great. I mean, that's the whole reason I built the backlot tour, because it's super iconic stuff. Each one of the buildings tell a story, and then you add the cars on it, you add the
yep,
people in it, and it brings that story to life. The only thing and they're all lit up. The only thing I'm missing is sound. I would
mm,
like,
yep,
the firehouse has sound of the car, that
yep,
siren from the movie, but the Mel's Diner doesn't have sound, and the houses don't have sound. But I'd like I was saying, the interactive part, you push a button and then the theme song of the show comes on the speaker, of the Munsters
yeah,
or the Psycho House, like you hear or
yeah,
something like that, stuff that you can hear for each thing that's happening on the module. I would love that. It's not updated yet, and that's still to come, but that's like my next step, is to, even if it doesn't necessarily move, you can still
yep,
like hear what was happening
yeah.
in certain
You get that.
scenes.
You get the other senses involved, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
now it's
Yeah, the only thing I need for Mills Diner is like 50s music to just be playing,
Yep,
like, from the movie. I mean, it didn't even have
yeah,
to be from the movie, just be 50s music. And you're
yeah.
like, oh yeah, that sock hop's alive.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That's all you need to kind of do on some of these things. It's kind of, yeah, it is going to be interesting to see what happens and where it goes, as far as advanced as the trains go. I think the trains are going to get to a point where what else are you going to do? You know,
Right.
I think the next evolution is you're going to do battery powered trains. Um,
Yeah.
so that you
So
don't
you
have to
don't need to
electrify
electrify
anything.
your
Yeah.
layout at all.
And then so when you're done with that, then what? What do you do? You know, it's
We're pretty close, literally, to probably being, you know, within maybe the next 10 years of running out of stuff to do for these trains. It's
yep,
just within the last 10 years, the train world has jumped considerably with the
yeah,
sugar cube speakers,
yep,
the electronics to make it, handheld remote. So you
mhm,
don't need to be plugged into the module or the layout, whatever, the DCC or whatever they call that.
yep,
Yeah, it's jumped leaps and bounds to where we're at now. And unless you make it levitate, like a
mhm,
levitated train,
yeah,
where
yep.
else are we
What
going
are
to
you gonna do?
go?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then you look out there and you look at the shows in Germany and all that kind of stuff, and those guys are making operating cranes in
yeah,
187 scale,
right,
and we're talking the truck cranes, not the big ones. We're talking the little
yeah,
trucks. They're making them work. They're making loaders work.
yeah.
It's like,
They're bringing that next step of the
yeah,
railroading hobby to life by
yeah,
motorizing stuff and making it, having it telling a story that you can watch in front of you instead
yeah.
of just in still photos or in a video.
Yeah. I mean, I see that, especially with us or something like that. I think that the next thing that'll happen is they'll start loading trains with
Right.
the vehicles, right? The vehicles, because you got forklifts, you got cranes, you got,
Yeah.
the tractors that fill it up and all that kind of stuff. It's
I,
gonna
it's
come.
it seems like we're behind. We're the last major country to be this far behind when Europe is already motorizing all their vehicles for their layouts. Japan is already doing sunsets and sunrises. They're doing almost what, Germany's doing,
Yep. Yep.
and we're not even there.
We're
I mean, we're just tiptoeing our feet into the
Yep.
water of RC vehicles out here, but
Yeah.
not even really looking at it as oh, we got to do all our vehicles. We got a huge
Yep.
train layout and we got to make everything move. Nobody's thinking of that
Nope.
And if they are, there's not enough for it to make a wave yet,
Yeah.
you know? And so I mean, we have the same kind of train locomotive technology as the rest of the world,
Mhm.
but the rest of that hobby, the
Yeah.
vehicles, the people, the buildings, the lighting, we're
Yeah.
behind. I don't
Yeah.
know why.
Yeah, and you can see it, like, especially like in the people and all that kind of stuff. The new animations that are coming out with the people,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
that you see from Prizer and those guys. It's just like, you know, Volmer's got, you know, a guy sawing, and
Yeah,
they've got all these people doing things, and now it's like, and we're like, yep, we still have static Woodland
yeah.
Scenics people.
Our layouts are perfect for still picture taking.
Yeah, yep.
That's it.
Yeah,
There's a commercial. I don't know what the commercial's for, but I have it linked on my Facebook page for this podcast. I don't know if you've seen the page, but there's a video that everything is moving on this HO scale layout. All the people, all the cars, smoke coming out of
yes,
it,
yes, yes, yeah,
and then
yeah.
something freezes, and it's only the one guy.
Yeah, the kid that's frozen in time. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that
was
is an
amazing.
amazing commercial.
Yeah, that is
Amazing, hands down. It's the best thing I ever seen
yeah,
in a model railroading hobby commercial.
yeah, that was so cool. And then finally at the end, the girl shows up and,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
I've got somebody else lost in time with me. Yeah, that
right.
was
The beginning of that, to have everything move like it's real in
yeah,
such a small miniature scale, so genius.
yeah,
Such a
that was
genius thing.
that was an
That's what
awesome.
we need. That's the end of our railroading peak.
Yeah,
If we can get to that point in model railroading, we've
yep.
done it.
That'll be the Star Trek of model railroading, right?
Yeah, because that's really all that Wonderland is missing, is to have all their people move.
Yep. Yeah.
Because like even in their train station, they probably got 1,000 people in their train station or their airport, or 2,000 figurines, but they're all static. They're
Yeah.
just glued there. If they all run on a track in a cross,
Yeah.
that's all they're missing. That's it. Everything else moves on their layout. So, and then having like little speaker systems laid out here and there so you can hear conversations just barely of
Yeah.
what's happening, in that little area.
Yeah.
That's it.
The kid
That's all
getting
they're
yelled
missing.
at or something like that, or
Yeah.
something that's
Yeah, don't get me wrong, that airport they said cost $4 million.
yeah.
So I couldn't even imagine having little tiny storylines for each people, even if it's a 15-second, 20-second storyline that just plays in a loop every 20 to every minute.
But Peyton Manning has a story for every person in Peyton.
Yes. You know what? There's a part of that. There's 2 or 3 commercials for that layout. And in one of the commercials, I actually seen parts of that commercial have moving vehicles and moving people.
Really?
In a distance. So you got
Yeah.
Peyton Manning and the country singer up here. And then in the background, on the left side, when you're looking at the TV, left side of them, which would be the right side of them, I guess, behind their shoulder, there's a car driving down and then 2 people walking on the street. Now, is it digitally put in?
Yeah.
Maybe,
right.
considering no other part of that commercial, any of those commercials, you see anything moving.
Yeah.
But why even put a digital thing in there if it wasn't really moving for any reason?
Right.
There's no reason to do it if none of the rest of the commercials have moving parts in that layout. So it makes me think they probably try to get a lot of things moving in there to make it look like a real city.
Yeah.
Just miniaturized.
To give
I
it-
would love to go to that warehouse though.
Yeah.
I feel like that's all made in S scale. It looks
Yeah.
like it's Hot
don't-
Wheels size vehicles that are on that layout. So it'd have to be a Hot Wheels size buildings and
Yeah.
houses.
Yeah, but still, just seeing something like that.
Oh God,
would be
that'd
amazing.
be neat.
The
Yeah.
best thing that I ever saw, I mean, I've gone to different layouts and all that, but the best thing that I ever saw, and I really wish I would have been able to steal some of it. I worked for an oil refinery, and they were putting in a whole new section of the oil refinery. And one of the things that they found out is over the years that people can't read drawings very well.
Right.
They spent like, I think it was $5.6 million plus the $400,000 or $500,000 for the building. They had somebody build the entire refinery pipe by pipe in scale. And so
That's crazy.
as they were building it, it was in the middle of the construction yard. This building was in the middle of the construction yard. As they were building it, you could come up, and it was broken into like 5 different sections because that's the way the refinery was. You could come up and look at the model and see what you were doing.
Wow. That's awesome.
And I think it was an about HO scale. It was about an HO scale model. And it was just, I mean, you walked into that room and you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have all the lights up and all that kind of stuff, but they had every.
But if it's in a lit room,
walkway,
you can see
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. But it was just amazing to see all of
That's
the work
awesome.
that went into something like that.
Yeah. I'm in this Facebook group of just the magical art of modeling, and some of these dioramas, I mean, a lot of it's, you know, somewhat military or somewhat
Right.
I guess most of it's military if you're doing dioramas, but the detail that these people put is just unbelievable. It's like you took a picture of something real and they just 3D printed the picture.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's just so perfect looking.
Yep.
Some of these people are just unbelievably talented in this world.
And the other thing is what is amazing too. I know a lot of people are upset because Testers is going away, and we've already lost Humboldt and a few other companies and all that. But oh my, AK Interactive paints, the Vallejo paints that are coming out. Who's the other one? It starts with an M. That the military modelers all did, and all of those, like the Citadel paints that are coming out, they are so much better than the paints that have been in the past.
Well, I think those past paints are just basic. They're just they're the beginning of what is today.
Yep.
So they had to start with the basics to fine tune and make better.
Yeah, but
like all Testers are pretty much crap paint, but I still use them every day almost.
Yeah. But I mean, these new paints that are coming out, the mixtures that they have, how easy that they flow on and stuff like that. The metal paints are just amazing. You know, that doesn't look like painted on metal. It looks like metal when they're done. So I mean, that's another thing that's really kind of neat, especially with our stuff where a lot of it's painting that we're trying to get those things in there. I'm really liking those new paints, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, so Testers is going away. All right, big deal. I got new ones. I got acrylics. I don't have to dye with the enamel and have all of the other chemicals or throw my brushes away every day. You know, I've got I can now recoup all of that stuff and all. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I see for us that's been amazing. Besides the lights, the new paints and how we're going to be able to use those new paints and introduce them to things. That's going to be neat.
Well, that's just like the real car painting in this country now. From I think 5 years ago, the car painting manufacturers had to change because of from FAA laws or FCC laws or some kind of laws changed where they're water based. Now all of it's water based and not the old style that they used to paint with, and they grew up learning how to paint with. So all the painters had to relearn how to paint basically. And now it's much better for the environment and all this stuff. And yeah, so it's the same thing. I mean, we've been using Testers for 40, 50 years, and now we'll just have to learn how to use something else. It's paint is paint, but it's just, you know, how to get used to not dealing with Testers white or Testers black. You're using a different version, and it may be a little bit thicker, maybe a little bit thinner, but you figure it out. You get to get used to it.
Yeah. And it's easier to figure out the paints than it is the computer stuff that we have to figure out.
Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, when I first started this podcast, I knew how to record a video on my phone, and that's the intro video for the channel. It's what plays every single time you click on this dumb channel. And but I didn't know how to use Zoom. I watched 5 different videos on how to use Zoom. And then anytime I go live, I've gone live on YouTube twice and live on Facebook once. I had to watch 3 videos to figure those things out. So this technology, once you figure it out, the basics, it's not bad because it's just the basics. You want to get super detailed into certain stuff, go live on Facebook. Come on.
Yeah.
Just make it simple. Just have a Facebook option that you just push the button and it's done. Yeah, right. Or a YouTube option, done. Just make it simple.
Yep.
I shouldn't have to watch 5 different YouTube videos to figure out this stuff. But right on, man. I don't even know what time it is. What time is it here? It is 9:12 here.
Yeah.
So this was awesome. This was a good talk.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
And I do want to put some links to your stuff. So in the description below, with your permission, I'll have your Facebook page. I'd like to put your YouTube channel, if that's cool.
Yeah, that's my YouTube channel is Steve, Steve, 87th, 87th. PSAP for Puget Sound and Pacific, because it's the railroad page. But yeah, and I can send that to you.
Yeah, cool. Because I'll have that in the link too. And then, do you have anything else that I should be putting, or?
No, just those 2. That's kind of I limit myself to I spend a lot of time at work on computer stuff and all that, and it's just like
right.
2 things is enough.
Yeah.
The Facebook page and my YouTube is enough. And
cool.
But yeah, there's a lot of variety between trains and my cars and vehicles and stuff like that. I show people what it is that I'm doing at the times, and I try to give them tips and show them new things, and a lot of stuff that I buy. It's kind of funny, even though I'm buying train stuff a little bit more now because I've been trying to catch up with the trains, which I'm almost caught up with. It seems like, I don't know how it happens, but every time I buy, it's like, oh, wow, look, a truck came with this. Oh, look, I got 4 cars with this. It's like, so they still keep coming in.
Yeah, as they should.
Exactly.
Cars are anyways cheaper than trains, so there you go.
So much cheaper.
Well, I'll have all those links in the description below. So if you guys want to check out Steve, he's got some pretty cool stuff that he didn't show. You just go to his page under his photos, and he's got some pretty cool stuff there. I'll have those links in the description. If you want to stay on real quick, I'll send this podcast off. And I hope you guys liked it. Like and subscribe if you haven't liked yet, or if you haven't subscribed yet. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and I'll answer it, or maybe Steve will answer it. I don't know. But yeah, do all that stuff. And I've got to plug it almost every episode. There's a Patreon, and the link in the description. In the description below, there's a link. Just have to learn how to sentence this words right. Check that out if you want to help with this podcast. And until next episode, you guys stay cool. So that was Steve Anderson. Pretty cool guy. I didn't really know much about him, and that's why I didn't really say a whole lot in the monologue. But now I know a lot about him, and we have a lot in common. And I like that. That's cool. Like making the modulars in your train set or your train layout tell a story. That's the next step in this hobby. Just saying. So that it was a cool talk. It was a cool chat with them. I enjoyed it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. So you know what to do. Here, and then here. Check those out. You guys have a good night.